Chapter 3904. Zhao Qiaohong's energy was about to be worn out by the night. If she didn't sleep well, her body would easily fall ill. She took a lot of medicine every day. It was a little useful, so she could only sleep in a daze. If she had nothing to do, she had to go to the hospital to take a blood test to see if there was anything wrong with her body. There was no filial child in front of a long bed. Zhou Xiaoping had to find a new job to make a living. Once he was busy with work, he wouldn't be able to take care of Zhao Qiaohong. He couldn't just leave his work and run back when he was talking to a client. After all, signing a contract or project required the efforts of the entire company. Zhou Xiaoping couldn't take care of his mother. At this time, he needed Zhou Xiaoping to do something. He needed to accompany his wife to the hospital and go through all kinds of trouble. Anyway, Zhou Xiaoping was exhausted. He was already so old and should have been living a good old life. He had been busy for most of his life and was finally resting. In the end, he still had to go through so much trouble. After so many times, Zhou Xiaoping was also annoyed. You did it yourself. Why are you doing it for no reason? I'm not feeling well. What's wrong with asking you to accompany me to the hospital? I've served you too for half my life. You can't even come to the hospital, Zhao Qiaohong said a little sadly. She couldn't sleep well at night. The old man disliked her for being noisy and moved to the next room because she would kick her legs and shrink her feet at night. It wasn't a good thing to keep having nightmares. Although she had fewer nightmares now than before she went to bed every day, she would silently say in her heart, "Don't dream, don't dream." However, whether she dreamed or not was something she couldn't control. Could it be that just going to the police station wasn't enough? Did she really have to apologize to Yin Ting? However, Zhao Qiaohong couldn't lower her head to her. She held back her anger. Why did she have to apologize? If she apologized, it meant that she was at her bottom. If Yin Ting left this house, they wouldn't be living well. Wouldn't that be a joke to Yin Ting? Absolutely not. Even if she had to force herself, she had to let others think that they were living well. Without Yin Ting at home, they would live better. Besides, she had been locked up and educated for a few days. She had atoned for all her sins. Although Zhao Qiaohong kept reminding herself that she wasn't wrong and that she was very good, she didn't think that she was wrong. However, Zhao Qiaohong was already physically and mentally exhausted from the things she had experienced in her dreams. If he had to admit his mistake in order for the nightmare to disappear, it would be too unrealistic. He had to believe in science. Why don't the two of them remarry? Now Yin Ting has a child. She doesn't have a job and still has to raise a child. Who knows how difficult it is? Perhaps she was still regretting the divorce. She knew how difficult it was for a woman to raise a child without a man to support the family. If he treated that girl better in the future, he wouldn't throw her away. To be honest, Zhao Qiaohong did not dare to have any bad thoughts about the child. She no longer had the energy to find a wife for her son. After choosing, she still felt that Yin Ting was barely acceptable. Before she gave birth to the child, they still got along quite harmoniously. Ever since he dumped that girl, their relationship had fallen to the freezing point, and they divorced. Zhao Qiaohong called her a girl, but she still regretted it in her heart. She regretted that she had to find Yin Ting again. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have thrown the child away. Her son was busy with work. He left early and returned late every day. It seemed that he had no intention of getting married at all. Zhao Qiaohong was so worried that she didn't know what to do. She didn't want her son to still be alone after she died. She dreamed about what she thought about in the day and dreamed about it at night. Even in her dreams, she dreamed that her son was alone and old, lying on the hospital bed alone, while Yin Ting found a good man. She lived a life of luxury. Even that little girl was doted on by the man. When she woke up, Zhao Qiaohong wanted the two of them to remarry more and more, especially when she saw the mother and daughter living a good life in her dream. That girl was in the palm of his hand and was more precious than his own. Zhao Qiaohong had an indescribable sadness in her heart. As long as the two of them remarried, Yin Ting couldn't marry again. The sharp contrast between her son and daughter-in-law made Zhao Qiaohong very unhappy. Although it was fake, she was still a little unhappy. For this reason, Zhao Qiaohong specially went to her son's house. The house was cold and empty. It didn't look like a house at all. There was nothing in the refrigerator. She didn't know when it was packed, but it was almost moldy. What kind of life was her son living? He didn't have a woman to take care of him. It was really pitiful. There was no hot meal, no one to wash his clothes. People like her son went in and out of clean places. He couldn't wear wrinkled shirts and jackets. These things needed women to do. Alas, it was better to remarry early. Her son had someone to take care of him. He had children and a wife. Only then would a family be complete. Zhou Xiaoping went home very late. When he got home, there was actually a light. He was a little surprised. Usually, when he came home, it was dark. Zhao Qiaohong was dozing off on the sofa. She was a light sleeper. She woke up when she heard the door open. Zhou Xiaoping was a little disappointed in his heart. He didn't know what he was looking forward to. Then he laughed at himself. There was no hope. What was he looking forward to? Zhao Qiaohong quickly heated up the food and said, "Eat something. Why are you working overtime until now? I just entered the company and I'm already like this." It was impossible to stand without any achievements. Zhou Xiaoping was eating. Zhao Qiaohong looked at her son and said, "Son, why don't you remarry Yin Ting?" Zhou Xiaoping was stunned for a moment. He didn't know what his mother was going to do. To be honest, he was a little scared now. He couldn't stand it. But what could he do? This was his mother. "So you think of this? You agree to let me remarry her?" What was this? Didn't he say that Yin Ting would erupt like a volcano and they wouldn't contact each other until death? Why did he change his mind? Of course, Zhao Qiaohong wouldn't say her selfishness. She was a little enlightened and said, "I understand. The person who will live with you for the rest of your life is Yin Ting, your wife. I will die sooner or later." Zhou Xiaoping didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After going around in a circle for so long, what was she doing? It was already like that. She wanted him to remarry, but Yin Ting would not come back. Zhou Xiaoping put down his chopsticks and said, "Mom, you take care of your body. Don't worry about my affairs. I will be fine. You will be fine too. Don't make trouble." Zhao Qiaohong asked anxiously, "What? She doesn't agree? She has a child now. She can find a better one." The dream was all fake, but the reality was that Yin Ting had a burden. How many men were really willing to raise a child for someone else? It was not her turn to choose. To watch the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3905. Did she really think that she was a virgin with many men chasing after her, waiting to be chosen? She didn't even have the chance to choose now. Zhou Xiaoping said helplessly, "Mom, don't bother about it. Really, I'm begging you." Zhao Qiaohong said insincerely, "Don't worry, I definitely won't bother about it. I won't bother about it." Zhou Xiaoping looked at her seriously. "You really won't bother about it?" She trembled under her son's cold gaze and almost swore, "I definitely won't bother about it." Zhao Qiaohong was a little worried that her son would ignore her. Her husband was unreliable. If he wasn't going out for a walk, he would be dancing or playing chess. Old age was too exciting. She was the only one who was worried sick and didn't feel safe at all. With such a thing happening at home, that old man was still in the mood to go out and dance. She didn't know which old vixen had seduced him away. She was worried, but her son didn't appreciate it. It made her a little sad. The next day, her son went to work as usual. He didn't seem to take what happened last night to heart. Zhao Qiaohong tidied herself up and prepared to meet her ex-daughter-in-law. The doorbell rang early in the morning. Mama Yin opened the door. When she saw Zhao Qiaohong, her face immediately fell. "What are you doing here?" Zhao Qiaohong's face broke into a smile. However, she had lost a lot of weight recently. When she smiled like this, it gave people the feeling that she was up to no good. Zhao Qiaohong shouted, "In-law." "What in-law? Who's your in-law? Don't call her that. My daughter still has to live," Mama Yin said bluntly. Mama Yin was very rude. She didn't even let her in. She threw the child away and still had the nerve to come. How shameless. This shameless old woman. Some people really got worse as they got older. Zhao Qiaohong said, "In-law, Can you let me talk to my daughter-in-law? Mama Yin raised her eyebrows. Say it again. Who's your in-law? Who's your daughter-in-law? Zhao Qiaohong changed the way she addressed her. I have something to say to Yin Ting. Ning Shu came out of the house and looked at the thin and haggard Zhao Qiaohong. He felt very satisfied. He thought that there wasn't much of the curse's power left, but it was better than expected. What did she come to find him for? Ning Shu thought that the current Zhao Qiaohong must hate him to death and came to find trouble with him. Ning Shu said directly, "You're here to apologize to the child." Zhao Qiaohong choked. What apology? She never thought about it. But thinking that she was here to get her daughter-in-law back, she could only nod and say, I'm here to see my granddaughter. I was wrong in the past. After coming back to her senses, Zhao Qiaohong felt a little humiliated. She had to apologize to a baby who didn't know anything, and he was even a junior. It was a little embarrassing. However, for the sake of her son, she could endure everything. Zhao Qiaohong was probably immersed in the feeling of grandeur. Loving her son could make her go forward without hesitation. Ning Shu nodded. I accept, but I don't forgive. This matter can't be resolved by an apology. Zhao Qiaohong's breath was suddenly stuck in her throat, and her heart hurt. Why was this daughter-in-law so annoying? She didn't give the elders any face. I've said what needs to be said. You can leave. The two of them were tired of looking at each other and didn't want to open their eyes. Zhao Qiaohong said, Ting, I have something to tell you. Why don't we go downstairs and talk? There was a kind of deliberate affection in her tone, which made Ning Shu very surprised. She was already like this. According to Zhao Qiaohong's character, she should have turned around and left. She had already embarrassed her so much, but she still had the cheek to stay. There must be something. Looking at her attentive attitude and the way she treated herself as her daughter-in-law, Ning Shu's heart gave birth to an incredible and ridiculous thought. He was really drunk. Ning Shu didn't let Zhao Qiaohong into the house. Let's go downstairs and talk. She wanted to see what Zhao Qiaohong was up to. Zhao Qiaohong also wanted to talk to Ning Shu alone, so she followed her downstairs. Ning Shu crossed his arms and looked at Zhao Qiaohong. Zhao Qiaohong hesitated and asked, Ting, how have you been recently? Ning Shu said, Of course, I'm eating well and sleeping well. I don't have to worry about someone throwing the child away. I feel at ease. I don't even have to dream at night. I sleep until dawn. Zhao Qiaohong's face was a little ugly. Alas, how could she continue the topic? If she said that she wasn't doing well, she could take advantage of the opportunity to let the two of them remarry. Zhao Qiaohong forced herself to save face and said with understanding, I know it's not easy for a woman to raise a child. You're living a hard life. I know. Ning Shu, Zhao Qiaohong was embarrassed. Why don't you remarry? I'll treat that child well in the future. After all, she's the blood of the Zhou family. The blood of the Zhou family. Those who didn't know would think that it was the blood of the royal family. Ning Shu looked at Zhao Qiaohong expressionlessly. Zhao Qiaohong thought that Ning Shu was thinking about what she said, so she spoke even more enthusiastically. You're a woman with a child. It's not good for you to find someone else to remarry. I know that you and Xiuping have feelings for each other. I won't interfere in your affairs in the future. You just have to live a good life. The world is always bad for women. You're divorced and have a child. When the man sees that, he doesn't want to be a spendthrift to raise someone else's child. Your life in the future won't be easy. Ning Shu grinned. The world is bad for women, but as a woman, you still want to make things difficult for another woman. Zhao Qiaohong still had a charitable attitude. She was a divorced woman with a child. How big of a sacrifice was it for her? Ning Shu, should I thank you for thinking so much for me? Zhao Qiaohong waved her hand. I don't want you to thank me. I just want you to live a good life. Why don't you take some time to get your marriage certificate? Ning Shu couldn't be bothered to waste his saliva. He took out his phone and pulled Zhou Xiuping out of the blacklist. Then he dialed Zhou Xiuping's number. Hello, Zhou Xiuping. I'll give you half an hour to come and take your mother away. Otherwise, I'll call the police and say that your mother is harassing me. If you don't want your mother to go back to the police station, Hurry up and take her away. The countdown starts now. You have 29 minutes and 30 seconds. Zhou Xiaoping. His heart was exhausted. Zhou Xiaoping hurriedly told his assistant that he had something to do. Then he really rushed to the car park. He didn't dare to delay even a second, because what she said was true. Yin Ting was thinking of taking revenge for her daughter, but Zhao Qiaohong sent herself to be tortured. What was she trying to do? Even if they wanted to remarry, Zhao Qiaohong shouldn't be the one to say it. Zhao Qiaohong stared at Ning Shu in shock. You? She couldn't speak for a long time. She had said so much and thought that she agreed. Zhao Qiaohong's expression was extremely ugly. She had already apologized and said all kinds of good things. What else did she want? Did she want to kneel down and beg her? To watch the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3906. Ning Shu said to Zhao Qiaohong, "You have to be clear about one thing. It's not Zhou Xiaoping who wants to divorce me. It's me who wants to divorce Zhou Xiaoping." Instead of looking for that little employee, he came to ask her to remarry him. What a monster! He came to ask her to remarry Zhou Xiaoping as if he was doing charity. What was the point of going back? Even though it was her own saliva, it was still a little disgusting. The saliva that she spat out was licked back. Zhao Qiaohong felt that she was just asking to be humiliated. She flew into a rage out of humiliation and sneered, "I want to see how good your life will be after you leave Xiaoping." At that time, even if she wanted to turn back and beg her, she would not agree. Ning Shu said, "Then open your eyes wide and see how good my life is. Even if I want to beg, I won't come to your doorstep." Ning Shu looked at his watch. It's already been 15 minutes. If he doesn't come in 15 more minutes, I'll call the police. Zhao Qiaohong really did not want to go to the police station and wanted to escape. Ning Shu raised his phone. "You'd better wait for Zhou Xiaoping with me. I've already recorded everything that we said previously." Zhao Qiaohong tried to act tough. "So what if you recorded it? I didn't say anything. Am I breaking the law just because I want you to remarry?" "Of course not. But you're harassing me." Zhao Qiaohong had something to say that she had to say loudly. Zhou Xiaoping hurriedly ran over, panting as he said, "Mom, what are you doing here?" When Zhao Qiaohong saw her son, she looked extremely wronged. It was as if she had been bullied. Zhou Xiaoping had seen his ex-wife's sharp tongue. His mother definitely did not take advantage of her verbally. Feeling wronged, Zhao Qiaohong replied, "Back then, I came over for the two of you. But in the end, she said that I was harassing her and wanted to call the police." Ning Shu watched the show with a chuckle. Zhou Xiaoping had a headache. He really admired Zhao Qiaohong. It wasn't that he didn't want to support Zhao Qiaohong, but he would also treat Zhao Qiaohong well. She wanted Zhao Qiaohong to have a better old age, but Zhao Qiaohong was too meddlesome. Some people were not weaned, and some parents were not separated from their children. Life was a process of constant division. The birth of a child was painful and painful. When the child grew up, it was also painful to divide mentally. She meddled too much. Zhao Qiaohong didn't seem to realize that she had made her child's life very bad. She didn't realize that her child had formed a new family and had a new identity and responsibility. Ning Shu said to Zhou Xiaoping, "Take care of your mother. Don't come looking for her. I'm very annoyed. If I'm annoyed, I can only call the police. Don't say that I bullied the old." Zhao Qiaohong wanted to speak, but she was stopped by Zhou Xiaoping. Zhou Xiaoping said, "I'm sorry, there won't be a next time." Seeing her son apologizing so humbly, Zhao Qiaohong was about to cry. Her son was in the palm of her hands. Ning Shu turned and went upstairs. Zhao Qiaohong said, "Why did you apologize to her?" "If you don't apologize, I'll get someone to send you to the police station. If you don't go find her, how can I apologize to her?" Zhou Xiaoping felt very tired. "Mom, if you keep interfering in my life, I can only resign and leave this city to develop in a farther place." Zhao Qiaohong was terrified. "Son, what do you mean? Don't you care about me? Are you going to abandon me?" She felt that the things in her dream were about to become reality. "You are my mother. This is something that can't be changed. I just can't stand you interfering in everything." I can only escape. Zhao Qiaohong cried. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. Don't go. She was worried that Zhou Xiuping wouldn't go home once he left. It was too scary to go home once in a few years. Zhou Xiuping wouldn't shortchange his parents. But if he didn't go home, what would he do with the money? I won't remarry Yin Ting. Don't look for her, Zhou Xiuping said coldly. Zhao Qiaohong nodded in fear. I won't look for her again. Nothing was more important than her son. Zhou Xiuping's face was still cold. Zhao Qiaohong was the kind of person who could open a dye house if he gave her some face. He might as well be cold to her like this. Zhao Qiaohong asked carefully, Son, are you still leaving? If you continue to interfere in my affairs, I will really leave. When I meet the right person, I will get married. Don't rush me. Zhou Xiuping didn't want to interact with Zhao Qiaohong like this. But he was really tired and didn't have the mood to talk nicely to Zhao Qiaohong. If you don't want to lose me, don't do anything. Zhou Xiuping had never been ruthless. Even when Zhao Qiaohong threw the child away, went to the police station, and had nightmares every day, he still didn't leave Zhao Qiaohong. It was something that a child should do. But Zhao Qiaohong didn't realize that she had hurt others. Even her son was hurt. She relied on her status as the child's mother and elder to do whatever she wanted. Now that Zhou Xiuping was ruthless, Zhao Qiaohong was like a trapped beast, trapped in a cage from all directions. She couldn't do anything. She didn't dare to do anything. Dan Qing's voice sounded in his mind, mission completed. Leave the mission world. Ning Shu's soul left the world and returned to the system space. He looked at his own soul. It was still very transparent. It was better to have a body in the mission world. Ning Shu stretched and opened the attribute panel. Name, Ning Shu H, 27 level, Super Mission Taker Points Plate, 29, 7100. 10 million points for 1 point plate. Soul value, 382 life value, 322 faith power, 250, 000 merit, 0 soul strength, 0 authorization ticket, 0 pure heart, none law comprehension, none constructed world, reincarnation world, world tree tools, calm halo, heart calming pill, amulet 4, upgraded amulet 2, faith bell honorary titles, goddess of war, selfless ancestor skills, 5th ring shooting technique, intermediate fighting technique, intermediate level poison technique, beginner level business management knowledge, beginner level code programming, beginner level lawyer skill, sage ghost catching skill, beginner level cooking skill, intermediate level embroidery skill, trash hypnosis halo, mother of the world empress blessing, model worker sister Qin Shi's blessing, leader halo grass blessing, lifelong friend Miao Miao Miao's blessing, the blessing of the healer Zhu Sun Yang, the blessing of the founding lady Qin Ermiai, the blessing of the lady of justice Qin Ning, the blessing of the blood clan's nemesis Jasmine, the blessing of the transcending race by San Yang, the blessing of the brave heart Wang Ying, the blessing of the bloodthirsty tyrant Ai Bingyan, the blessing of the heart of peace and joy, the blessing of the luck halo, the blessing of the faith halo, and a long life. Completed Yin Ting's mission. Mission completion rate, 100. Received 10 points plate, 8 attribute points, and all the soul power contributed by the person who entrusted it. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3907. Ning Shu absorbed the soul power with anticipation. Then, he looked at his own soul and realized that it was useless. His soul was still so transparent. He felt that his soul was like a broken jar with a hole. No matter how much soul power he absorbed, it would leak out. He still couldn't pick up anything. If Ning Shu wanted to pick something up, he had to extend his vines and use them to replace his hands. How pitiful! He didn't know when he would recover. He couldn't touch anything and couldn't feel anything. He was like a ghost floating around. It really made him feel uneasy. He was really afraid that he would dissipate one day and not be able to see himself anymore. He might as well do missions. There was still a body in the mission world. It made him feel at ease. Ning Shu reached out to touch the peerless martial art on his ear. Naturally, he couldn't touch it. After thinking about it, he entered the peerless martial art. There was still a vast ocean inside the peerless martial art. There was quite a lot of vitality. Standing in this world and being surrounded by vitality, it was quite comfortable. Ning Shu felt that he wasn't a soul. If he was in a soul state and was really filled with so much vitality, he would definitely feel uncomfortable. After all, the soul had yin qi and death qi. It was the opposite of vitality. The conflict between the two would definitely be very uncomfortable. Perhaps because his soul was transparent, the yin qi and death qi in his soul had dissipated. Instead, it wasn't so uncomfortable when it clashed with vitality. However, Ning Shu didn't dare to stay in there for too long. If he touched too much vitality, he would really be pressed into the law sea. Moreover, she had no arms or legs to chop off now. She was already transparent. There was nothing left to donate. Ning Shu hurriedly took out the peerless martial art. He believed that not long after, the peerless martial art would form a world of life. At the same time, this world was the source of his power. From a selfish point of view, Ning Shu still didn't want this peerless martial art to form a world of life too quickly. Once there was life, it would inevitably accelerate the destruction of the world. It would also consume the power of the world. If the heart was used by two people, it would definitely consume a lot of the world's power. If the law sea was normal, Tai Shu and Jingqing would obtain power from the law sea. Similarly, when a plane was born, the power needed by the plane was also obtained and extracted from the law sea. However, she could not interfere with the evolution of a peerless martial art. She could only let nature take its course. Zhu Junchu, who was supposed to be in the world of samsara, appeared in the system space. Ning Shu asked, "Did something happen to the world of reincarnation?" Usually, Zhu Jun would not come to the system space because the system space was not big. Zhu Jun said that he did not like small places in the corners. She always wanted to run into the world of sensuality. Zhu Jun took out several bottles of soul fluid and said, "This is what we found recently. Try it and see if it can improve the state of your soul." Ning Shu was very moved. "Thank you. I'll give it a try." It seemed that there was quite a lot of soul fluid here. He must have spent a lot of time collecting it. Zhu Jun said, "Drink it, don't dissipate. Otherwise, how can I go to other worlds in the future?" Ning Shu, "You don't have to say the rest really, thank you." The vines rolled up the bottles and all the soul fluid went into Ning Shu's mouth. Ning Shu smacked his lips. There was no taste and he did not feel any power surging out of his body. His soul was still transparent. Zhu Jun looked at Ning Shu and waited for a while before saying, "It seems that your soul is quite tough. Even after drinking so much soul fluid, it's still tough and transparent. You don't have to worry about it being blown away." Ning Shu, "I'm not comforted." It seemed that there was really a big hole in his soul. No matter how much he drank, it was useless. Ning Shu said somewhat listlessly, "You don't have to get me this soul fluid in the future. It's useless even if I drink it. By the way, do you have enough merit points?" "Yes, there are only so many skeletons in total. Most of the skeletons have succeeded in building the golden body of merit. In fact, you don't need much merit points," Zhu Jun said. Ning Shu nodded. He did not lose many skeletons that had succeeded. As for making more skeletons, he would think about it later. If there were stubborn souls in the world of reincarnation, these stubborn souls would affect the world of reincarnation if they wandered around. Even little demons did not like to eat stubborn souls. They would feel very uncomfortable after eating them. Zhu Jun looked at Ning Shu and said, "If there's nothing else, I'll leave first." Zhu Jun wanted to say something but stopped. "Still be careful. Since your soul has become like this, don't run around. Since it was already like this, don't run to dangerous places. If something happened, you wouldn't even be able to cry." Ning Shu nodded. "Thank you for your concern. I know." His soul was now transparent and could not do anything. He did not even deal with the star stones. He would probably have to do missions during this period. At least he had a body in the mission world. As for the Holy Land, he did not know whether to go or not. He still had to bring things for the cubs. Those things had not been purchased yet. What a headache. If he did not do it for a long time, the old man from the divine tree would probably throw a tantrum. Ning Shu arrived at the city of water. He took out a list and bought things one by one. He placed them in his mesen space and brought many desserts for Fa Tion. He still had to go to the Holy Land and at least let the old man from the divine tree know. Ning Shu arrived at the Holy Land with a full load of things. Ning Shu entered the cub nursery and took out the things. He said to the cubs, "I've bought everything you wanted. Come and get it." Ning Shu took out a list to avoid mixing things up. The first person to come to Ning Shu was Dong Lan. She reached out to Ning Shu. "My dessert." Ning Shu extended a vine and handed the dessert to Dong Lan. Dong Lan got what she wanted. She smiled and asked, "Do you know where Fa Tian went?" Ning Shu shook his head. "I don't know." He did not know where in the void he was collecting ashes. Dong Lan said, "Fa Tian hasn't returned to the cub nursery for a long time. Aren't you worried about him?" Ning Shu, "I'm worried." Dong Lan immediately approached Ning Shu and said expectantly, "Then let's go find Ikyun." Ning Shu, "Why do you want to find him? Let's talk later. There are still things waiting for us behind." Ning Shu said. Dong Lan went to the side and waited. The cubs behind rushed up to ask for their things. After distributing the things, one of the cubs asked Ning Shu when he would make jerky again. "Jerky? At least wait until her soul recovers." "Then can we go now?" Dong Lan asked. Ning Shu, "Gu Liang, did I agree to go with you?" The old man from the divine tree narrowed his eyes at Ning Shu and asked, "How did you become like this? Can you still cook?" Ning Shu sighed. "I can't for now. So before I recover, I can't cook anything." The old man from the divine tree frowned and looked at Ning Shu with dissatisfaction. "What's the point of having a cook like you?" To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3908. Come here, I'll draw a god rune for you so that your soul won't dissipate. The old man stretched out his skinny hand and beckoned to Ning Shu as though he was summoning a soul. Ning Shu was elated and walked over. "That's great. Thank you." He was worried that he would really be blown away by the wind. Squatting in front of the old man stretched out his hand and smoothly drew a god rune on Ning Shu's forehead. It was as though the god rune was paddling on the surface of the water, creating ripples. Ning Shu felt as though his soul was rooted to the ground. He would not be blown away by the wind. Ning Shu asked, "What kind of god rune is this?" The old man stroked his beard and said, "Trees can withstand storms because their roots are deep. The deeper they are, the stronger they will be." Ning Shu nodded and touched his forehead. With the god rune on him, Ning Shu felt that he could do whatever he wanted. Dong Lan asked, "Can we go now?" Ning Shu shook his head. No. With her trashy strength, she would only increase the difficulty of Fa Tian's journey. It was better not to go. Moreover, she had a connection with Fa Tian. If something really happened, she would be able to sense it. There was no need for her to look for Fa Tian. Dong Lan instantly pouted cutely. "Aren't you worried about him? Aren't you worried that he will get lost in the void? Haven't you thought that he might be injured and lying helplessly somewhere? Haven't you thought that he might be in pain right now?" Ning Shu shook his head. "I haven't thought about it." Dong Lan. She glanced at Ning Shu and confirmed that Ning Shu did not want to go out with her. She licked the desserts and turned to leave. Ning Shu seriously suspected that this girl was just looking for someone to go out with her. Ning Shu thought that since he was already here, he asked the old man, "Can I learn god runes now?" "You want to learn divine inscriptions without doing anything at all? What are you dreaming about?" Old man Shen Shu said in annoyance. Ning Shu was rebuked. This old man's mood was fickle. Ning Shu, okay, I'm not learning anymore." The old man from the divine tree muttered to himself. His mood seemed to be quite bad. "Ning Shu, I didn't do anything that offended the heavens. The old man was in such a bad mood, and I didn't want my soul to become like this." The old man from the divine tree had a displeased look on his face. Again, Ning Shu was surprised. "Who's here?" Following his gaze, he saw the Tai Shu and Sang Liang. "Are these two Siamese twins? You can see them together all the time." Old man divine tree pulled a long face, causing the wrinkles on his face to look even deeper and his face to grow longer. Ning Shu was relieved to see the old man like this. Finally, there was someone like her who felt that the Tai Shu was very annoying. The old man from the divine tree said, "Don't come looking for me. I won't agree. I'm already so old and you still want to torture me." Sang Liang said, "Old man, aren't we discussing with you?" Ning Shu, discussing? Was the word discuss in Sang Liang's dictionary? What exactly were they discussing with the old man from the divine tree? It was obvious that the Tai Shu and the others were making things difficult for him. The Tai Shu said, "I've collected everything you want. Just say it if you agree or not." Ning Shu simply sat down and watched the show. He wanted to know what they were trading. However, he obviously didn't want Ning Shu to know about this. Sang Liang said to Ning Shu, "Why are you here? Go back and do your work." Ning Shu smiled and said, "I'm the cook here. I cook for these cubs." The Tai Shu glanced at her. "You're so talented. You don't do proper work." Ning Shu sat on the steps and held her chin with both hands. She said with a smile, "Thank you for the compliment. I'm that capable." The old man from the divine tree was like an old child. "But you're making things difficult for others? I want her to listen." Ning Shu nodded like a chick pecking rice. "Yes, I'm here to see what dirty deal you have." Ning Shu asked Old Man Divine Tree, "What do you want to trade?" She patted her chest, "Let me say something fair." The Tai Shu and Sang Liang both looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu's hand paused. "I'm just a lively person. Why do you care about me?" Ning Shu sat down again and held her chin with both hands. She blinked and looked at the two families. The old man from the divine tree said to Ning Shu, "They want me to split a tree and plant it beside a small pond." Ning Shu was speechless. This was the Sea of Law, not a small pond. This old man was quite bad. Oh, Ning Shu understood. The last time she saw the Tai Shu and Sang Liang come to the cub, it was probably because of this matter. They were really worried about the Sea of Law. If it was Ning Shu, she felt that she might be a salted fish. She would just let nature take its course. The Sea of Law was enough for the Tai Shu to rush about. There was also Zheng Qing in her body. Zheng Qing was not helping with the Sea of Law, but she was dragging them down. They were really mysterious teammates. Communication was very important. These two probably did not communicate at all. The old man from the divine tree asked Ning Shu, "Don't you think they're too much?" Ning Shu stared at the eyes of her two superiors. She laughed and changed the topic. "What's the harm to you?" Actually, these three people were her superiors. Sang Liang said helplessly, "You're too old. You just need a little branch to stick back in. There's no need to split you in half." The old man from the divine tree laughed. "I can still live if you split me in half." Ning Shu exclaimed in realization. So it was like this. If he wanted the branches of the God tree, he would probably want to plant the God tree. If he had such a tree beside the Sea of Law, the natural God runes would be able to stabilize the Sea of Law. It would be more effective than man-made divine runes. Ning Shu laughed and said, "Didn't they get what you want? Just exchange. If you don't want to exchange, then pull them in." The Tai Shu said impatiently, "If you don't want to do it yourself, I can do it." The old man from the divine tree almost jumped up. "What? You want to snatch a good man?" Ning Shu, the Tai Shu pulled out his sword. "I only wanted a few branches. Now, it seems like it's better to transplant the entire tree over there. The effect will be better." The old man from the divine tree's beard was blown up. "You evil tyrant. Shameless. I swear I won't follow you even if I self-destruct." The Tai Shu looked up with a cold expression. He held his black sword and walked towards the old man from the divine tree's body. The old man from the divine tree stretched out his hand. "Wait." The Tai Shu did not turn his head and just raised his sword. The old man from the divine tree was a little stunned. "Wait, wait." The sword in the Tai Shu's hand was raised high and gradually became bigger. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3909. The gigantic sword was about to cleave down. Once it cleaved down, the old man would probably be cleaved into two. Dog leading. He didn't know if the grand uncle wanted the whole tree or the roots. With the roots, It could still sprout and grow back. The roots of such a huge tree would definitely be spectacular. Even if they gave up the trunk, they could still take the roots. But he didn't know if the old man would still be around. So ruthless. This was equivalent to exterminating an entire family. The old man from the divine tree obviously realized this as well, and his face turned ugly. Ning Shu whispered to the old man, "They're a bunch of fugitives. They'll do anything." The old man rolled his eyes at Ning Shu. "Do you want me to give in to them?" Ning Shu was scolded again. "Then fight with them." "Fight back? Why are you scolding me?" This old man. The cubs were trembling in fear at this scene. They huddled together and looked at the grand uncle in horror. Some of the cubs wanted to attack, but the disparity in strength between the two sides was too great. It was useless to do anything. They could only lick their desserts or eat their meat. They silently watched as the cubs were about to be destroyed. The foundation of the cubs was the tree of God. If the tree of God was gone, the cubs would cease to exist. Some of the more sentimental cubs even shed tears. They ate while crying, sniffling and sniffling. The old man saw that the giant sword was about to land. He let out a heart-wrenching cry. "Stop. Can't we trade? You don't even allow people to bargain when doing business." Ning Shu was speechless. "Then you were dawdling before because you wanted to bargain. You really failed. Why didn't you just say it directly? Why did you have to twist the topic into something else? You made people misunderstand that you didn't want to trade and used force." He was drunk. The grand uncle kept his sword expressionlessly. "Why didn't you say so earlier? I want your roots even more." The old man's face darkened. "I knew you were up to no good. You just want my roots. You're a despicable bandit. Shameless." Ning Shu also felt that if the tree of God continued to resist, the grand elder would take this opportunity to dig out the roots of the tree of God. He was indeed quite shameless. The tree of God had an ugly expression on his face as he took a bigger branch from his body and gave it to grand uncle. He was afraid that if the branch was too small, grand uncle would be dissatisfied and remove his roots. Compared to the roots, a few branches could still be sacrificed. This was the so-called window effect. You want to open the window, but the people in the house don't agree. At this time, if you want to flip the house, the others will definitely agree to you opening the window. Under the coercion and temptation, what else could the old man do but compromise? The grand uncle and the others might get a bigger branch than expected. The strong could really do whatever they wanted, especially when the grand uncles and the others looked like hooligans. It was really worrying. The old man's face turned ugly. His hands trembled as he gave the branch to grand uncle and the others. Sang Liang took the branch with a smile and said, "Thank you, old man." "Old man divine tree, ha!" A series of mocking laughter came out of his mouth. He had already gotten what he wanted. Did he care about the old man's attitude? Of course he didn't. Sang Liang kept the branch and handed a piece of soil to the old man. "This is the soil you wanted." The old man rolled his eyes and took the soil. He checked the soil and saw that the two of them were still here. He ordered them to leave. "The deal is over. What are you still doing here?" Did they still have some improper thoughts about his roots? Shameless ba ba ba. The grand uncle turned and left without any intention of chatting. Sang Liang said to the old man, "Then we'll leave. Take care of yourself. We'll come and see you in the future." The old man waved his hand as if he was sending off a plague. "Hurry up and leave. Don't come back in the future. I don't even want to see you." Sang Liang also left. The old man's face revealed a smile. He weighed the soil in his hand and buried it under his body. He dug a hole, buried it, and then filled it up. His happy expression didn't look like he was at a disadvantage at all. "Ning Shu, you're both movie emperors. As for who's at a disadvantage and who's at an advantage, who can say for sure?" Ning Shu asked, "What is this?" The old man patted the soil on his hand. "I'm a tree. Trees need soil. Soil is also very good." Clearly, this palm-sized piece of soil was good stuff. The old man hummed a tune with his hands behind his back. Ning Shu felt that this guy was really taking advantage of her. Previously, he looked like he was being forced and was doing all sorts of things. Seeing that the matter was over, The cubs that were hiding in the corner trembling while eating also ran out. They regained their previous liveliness and chattered around the old man. Old man Shinshu was very patient with these cubs. After a while, these cubs dispersed. Ning Shu took advantage of the old man's good mood and asked, "Old man, can I try to comprehend the divine pattern now?" Since he was already here, he might as well fight for it. The old man nodded. He was very straightforward. Ning Shu didn't believe it. It seemed like the old man got what he wanted. That's why he was in such a good mood. What was that piece of soil? Ning Shu entered the old man divine tree's spiritual space, which was filled with densely packed lines, causing people to be dazzled. Ning Shu couldn't even grasp a single line. He couldn't capture the trajectory of these lines. Ning Shu closed his eyes and used his mental power. When he felt that he had checked enough, he reached out to grab the line. However, the line slipped away from Ning Shu's hand. He had already caught it, but why did it still slip away? Time's up. Ning Shu was expelled from the spiritual space. Why was it so fast? He felt that he hadn't even comprehended much, and the time was up. Ning Shu bid farewell to the old man and left the sacred ground. Since he had nothing to do, he prepared to participate in the Arbor Day. After getting the branch, Tai Shu and the rest would definitely plant the tree beside the Law Sea. Ning Shu excitedly went to the Law Sea. The branch had already been planted. It quickly grew into a small tree. Ning Shu walked closer to take a look. He saw that the small tree was emitting a luster. There were some faint lines. Obviously, these lines would become divine patterns in the future. For the Law Sea, Tai Shu and the rest had used all sorts of methods. It was just that the Law Sea had been dormant for a long time. Planting the divine tree was just a consolidating effect. Moreover, it was just a theoretical state. As for how effective it actually was, no one knew. The grand uncle and the others stumbled and stumbled. They used both folk prescriptions and prescriptions. Ning Shu watered the divine tree. This way, he could be considered to have participated in the Arbor Day and contributed to the Green Law Sea. To view the new chapter, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3910. Ning Shu was wondering if he should plant a tree for the peerless martial art. Planting a tree could stabilize the vegetation and prevent landslides and mudslides. Here it was the same logic. It could stabilize the world. The only problem was that he couldn't find that kind of mud. If he asked the old man, he would probably only have 2 words, scram. He didn't know what kind of mud it was. If he could find it, he might be able to exchange it with the old man. Ning Shu touched the sapling. Under his touch, the sapling actually grew a little. The leaves also stretched out a little. Ning Shu was so scared that he immediately retracted his hand. He looked around but didn't see anything. Ning Shu looked at his transparent hand. It was really the hand of God. Just touching it could make the sapling grow. This guy must be absorbing his vitality. Ning Shu leaned closer to the sapling and whispered to the old man, "Old man, it's you. Can you answer if you hear me?" It was a branch from the old man's body. It was equivalent to the old man's main body. He wondered if this sapling was interesting. The sapling swayed with the wind but didn't respond to Ning Shu. It seemed that after leaving the main body, the sapling had become an independent divine tree. It might grow very big in the future. This tree should be the old man's descendant. Ning Shu kept calling out to the tree. When the grand uncle came over and saw the strange Ning Shu, he grinned expressionlessly. His eyes flashed with disgust. Ning Shu saw that the grand uncle came over and stopped talking to the divine tree. He looked at the endless black sea of law. Occasionally, there would be a popping sound, rippling out layers of ripples. The grand uncle probably didn't like having someone around him. He said, "Why aren't you leaving?" Ning Shu retorted, "I can't come to this place. The organization has rules. I can't come to this place." She could go wherever she wanted. If she had the ability, she could write Ning Shu can't enter. Even if she did, she would still come. The grand uncle ignored Ning Shu and looked at the sea of law in a daze. After a while, he said to the black fish in the sea of law, "You don't have to do it. Go back." 2 black fishes with flowers leaped from the surface of the sea. Ning Shu simply couldn't bear to watch. The beautiful koi fish turned from red and white to gray, then from gray to black, and from black to flower. It was simply terrifying. Swimming in such a sea was simply a disaster. He didn't know how much black pigment the two koi fish had absorbed. But Grand Uncle wanted to absorb power from such a sea of law. Was he absorbing power or trash? That was debatable. The two black fishes came ashore and turned into humans. They were as black as Africans. They were as ugly as they were handsome before. The two koi fish spat out the dirty things in their mouths and said to the Grand Uncle, "You have to do what you promised us." The Grand Uncle nodded, and the two fishes left. The Grand Uncle glanced at Ning Shu in annoyance. "You leave too?" Ning Shu nodded and didn't move. He stared at the sea of law. The Grand Uncle turned to look at him. Black lines spread out from his neck. "You forced me to make a move." Ning Shu glanced at him. "You stand over there, and I stand here. How am I in your way?" The Grand Uncle sneered. "What are you doing here? You think you're loyal and righteous. You came to take a look at this sea of law that is about to be ruined. There's a limit to your hypocrisy. I asked you to do something, and you looked like you wanted to die. Now you're pretending to be kind. You really make me feel uncomfortable. It's so disgusting that I want to vomit." Ning Shu chuckled. "You're so disgusted that you want to vomit because you ate too much trash. Why do you think I'm here to see the sea of law? I'm here to see when this place is going to die. Don't fucking vent your anger on me. Did I cause the sea of law to wither? I'm here to see when you're going to die. I want to disgust you to death." Ning Shu said coldly. "Serves you right. I want to see how you're going to die. I'm not going to give you anything." Ning Shu turned and left. What the hell was this? If I want to give something, I'll give it. If I don't want to give it, I won't give it. He had clearly absorbed a large portion of the Sea of Law's energy, but he made it seem like others had let him down. In the future, he would go to see the Sea of Law every day. Being angered for no reason, Ning Shu was also furious. He turned and pointed his middle finger at the Grand Uncle. It must be because the two fishes did not do as he wished. The Grand Uncle was angry and vented it on her. Who wasn't a person? She had to bear his inexplicable anger for no reason. It felt like as long as it didn't go according to his wishes, everything else was insignificant and not worth mentioning. If he didn't give it, he wouldn't give it. Ning Shu's heart was cold. Even if the Sea of Law had collapsed, she could still watch it without any fluctuations. It was also her own fault for insisting on seeing the divine tree. She deserved to be scolded. In the future, she would stay far away from him. She didn't want him to take his anger out on her. If he died, he might take revenge on society. It wasn't worth it to make a group of people die with her. The conflict between them was unsolvable. If she could contribute an exceptional martial art, she might be able to get some good treatment. However, she wouldn't take it out. One side wanted it, and the other side wouldn't give it. What could she do? The Grand Uncle looked at the divine tree sapling that had just been planted. It seemed to be bigger than before, and the branches were more flourishing. Ning Shu now hoped that her soul could recover quickly. She couldn't bear the power of an exceptional martial art. Ning Shu returned to the system space and said to Dan Qing, "Go and do the mission." The chat system dinged. It was a message from the main system, Sang Liang, asking her to go to the consultation room. Ning Shu didn't want to go. "What's the matter? Just say it." Sang Liang, "Let's talk when we meet." Ning Shu refused. No. She didn't want to see this group of people now. It was meaningless. She might as well do the mission. Sang Liang, "There's something for you." Ning Shu said directly, "No." No matter what was given, she didn't want it. When had the organization ever done a losing deal? No matter what the organization gave her, she wouldn't be moved. Sang Liang, Emperor Granule. Ning Shu. In her current soul state, fusing with the Emperor Granule was simply courting death. And the Emperor Granule was a shocking gamble. Her luck had always been very bad. She didn't want it. It was too useless. It wouldn't increase her strength by much, and it would also cause her to lose what she already had. This thing took up space for her. It was boring. There was nothing in this organization that could tempt him anymore. After hundreds of years of working, she could leave this place. You can keep the Emperor granule for yourselves. I don't want it. She was so handsome that she wanted to cry. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3911. Di Jun was something that he did not want. Ning Shu said to Dan Qing, "Let's do the mission." Dan Qing said a little fearfully, "Why don't we go to the main system? Maybe there's something important." Ning Shu thought carefully. How can there be something important? What's important to them is not important to me at all. Was there something important? Of course not. Other than life and death, what else was there? Now, the Sea of Law was facing life and death. They were anxious, but she was not. Even if the Sea of Law collapsed, she would still die. She would live as long as she could. Seeing through the organization's eternal life, Ning Shu was no longer afraid of life and death. People would die sooner or later. Dan Qing, what a pain in the ass. What a hoodlum. Ning Shu, do the mission. Dan Qing, I don't dare. His voice was very sad. Ning Shu, what's the use of having you? If I don't go to the consultation room, I won't even do the mission. If not, I'll go to the void to play with Fation. With the divine pattern carved on the forehead by the old man, my soul is much more stable. Let's go. Sang Liang sent a message. You want someone to go to the system space to find you? Ning Shu curled his lips. Going to her system space was trespassing on her private space, which was quite unpleasant. Ning Shu snorted and went to the consultation room in Water City. Other than Sang Liang, there was also Tai Shu. Seeing senior uncle, Ning Shu pretended to vomit. Her disgust was obvious. Ning Shu stood at the door of the consultation room. Seeing Tai Shu and Sang Liang, he hesitated whether to go in or not. It seemed that they did not come with good intentions. His heart pounded. Ning Shu was loyal to his inner feelings. He bumped into the barrier and touched it with his hand. There was a thick barrier in front of him, blocking his way. It seemed that they did not come with good intentions. Ning Shu turned to look at the two. What's the meaning of this? Sang Liang was still sitting upright, very elegant. Since you're here, come in. I have something to discuss with you. Every time he heard Sang Liang mention a discussion, he felt that something was amiss. Ning Shu sneered. He had been caught like a turtle in a jar. That's right, he was the turtle. He didn't know where Fation was, but now that he was in danger, Ning Shu's first thought was to summon Fation. The other party did not come with good intentions, he had to be prepared. Ning Shu thought that he might be pushed into the Sea of Laws. He never felt that he was very lucky. Even an official had such a fate. If he was really a pig, he would probably be slaughtered when he got fat. Could it be that he was going to be stabbed today? For some reason, Ning Shu's heart suddenly calmed down. That was because the knife above his head was finally going to fall. This day had finally arrived. He didn't have to be on tenterhooks anymore. He just kept probing. If the organization wanted something, he would try his best to give it to them. If he couldn't give it to them, he would drag it out. Now was the time to show his true colors. Ning Shu flipped his hair, lifted his skirt, and walked into the consultation room. He sat on a chair and asked, "What are you looking for me for that you need such a big lineup? I really feel honored." He just had to give up on this. He then called out to Fation in his heart. No matter what he faced, he still had to struggle. At most, he would just perish together. Sang Liang said indifferently, "It's not a big deal, don't be nervous." Ning Shu shook his head, fiddled with his hair, and said casually, "I'm not nervous. Instead, you guys are more nervous. What do I have on me that makes you guys so nervous?" Sang Liang said, "Show us the thing that provides life force and energy." Ning Shu asked back, after looking at it for a while. It was just taking a look. Even a 3-year-old child wouldn't believe such words. The day had finally arrived. Peerless martial arts were really in high demand. Seeing Ning Shu's indifferent look, Sang Liang said, "Your belief world might have become the birthplace of a new plane." Ning Shu was puzzled, but his expression didn't change. So, Chicken Feather's plain birthplace, at most, had a bit of life force. Ning Shu felt that they were interested in that life force. "We have an idea. which is to connect your world with the Sea of Law and draw the flow for the Sea of Law," Sang Liang said. Ning Shu burst out laughing. In the end, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. It took him a lot of effort to stop laughing. "What does your idea have to do with me? Why should I cut out a kidney for you guys?" Originally, there was enough life force for a world inside. Now that it was diverted, it meant that the lifespan of the peerless martial arts would be greatly reduced. And as the source of her power, the peerless martial arts would also be damaged a lot. These people were not her family, not her lover, and not her friends. They made this request right from the start. Strictly speaking, there were still disagreements between them. They didn't do anything wrong when their heads exploded, but she was hurt. She just couldn't let it go. Pulling a person on the street and saying, "Cut out a kidney for me." It was so unimaginable, but they still took it for granted. Sang Liang frowned and said, "It's just a diversion." Ning Shu said, "Are you insulting my IQ or overestimating your IQ? It's just a diversion. You guys are wronged." The grand uncle said impatiently, "It's a diversion. Otherwise, just throw them all into the Sea of Law." His eyes were a little scarlet, as if he was enduring some pain, which made his emotions a little unstable. Ning Shu laughed. "I don't care if you guys die. I won't divert it. I won't give you anything. Old fart." He was already so old, but he was always thinking about where to steal some time. Couldn't he let nature take its course? The grand uncle frowned and waved his hand. "Just throw it in. What's the point of talking so much?" She didn't think she had the right to bargain. An iron cage fell from the sky and directly covered Ning Shu. Ning Shu was stunned for a moment. He wanted to rush out of the cage, but he was bounced back. Sang Liang said, "Actually, we would prefer to see a win-win situation." Ning Shu was about to die from laughter. "Win-win? Can you tell me where the win-win situation is? If it was really diverted, the peerless martial arts would be so pitiful. A part of it would be given to the Sea of Law, and the grand uncle would have to absorb power from the Sea of Law. In other words, the little bit of vitality in the peerless martial arts would be divided up just like that. I only see you guys getting the benefits. What are my chances of winning?" Ning Shu was expressionless. Who was this treating him as a fool? Even if he was really going to be pressed into the Sea of Law, he would still destroy the peerless martial arts. Or throw it away, throw it in some corner where you won't be able to find it even if you look for it. A black-hearted person wants to cut my kidney. Ning Shu tried several times but couldn't escape from the cage. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3912. Since there was no other way, Ning Shu decided not to try. He sat cross-legged on the ground and looked at Tai Shu and Sang Liang indifferently. Tai Shu rubbed his eyebrows and said to Sang Liang, "Tell her that if she doesn't agree, just break it open and assimilate it." Ning Shu's pupils constricted. Break it open and assimilate it? Could it be that he wanted to break the peerless martial art and release the life force inside? At the same time, he wanted to fuse the Law Sea with the peerless martial art? When the Law Sea was lacking life force, he naturally wouldn't reject such a thing. Ning Shu's eyes flashed and he was brought to a place. This place was filled with white. She was locked up. Tai Shu and Sang Liang weren't present. It was obvious that they had opened up a separate space to lock her up. And she had laughed at Jingqing before. Now, her fate was the same as Jingqing's. She was going to sacrifice herself for the world. Ning Shu sat cross-legged in the cage. Should she sacrifice herself for justice? That way, she could die a better death. But even if she sacrificed herself for justice, she wouldn't make a monument for herself. Otherwise, her death would be too worthless. At least, she had to let others know about her sacrifice. Those living in the plane might not even know what happened in their world. What's more, they were ignorant about the outside world. As for Tai Shu and the rest, they would remember her sacrifice. Don't mention it. Being weak was a sin. Ning Shu supported her chin. Things had developed to this point, but she was actually very calm. She wasn't angry at all. Instead, she felt that this was how it should be. This was how it should be. If she was strong enough to make people fear her, they wouldn't dare to do this. At least, They wouldn't be able to lock her up. Ning Shu touched his ears and didn't immediately punish her. She probably wanted the peerless martial art to evolve and controlled him in advance. Even if she wanted to borrow the power of the peerless martial art, she had to wait for Fation to come. She just didn't know if her soul could withstand the power of the peerless martial art. They weren't in a hurry. Ning Shu wasn't in a hurry either. It was probably because the Law C didn't have a final juncture. She was in jail. Did anyone come to visit her? It was so boring to be alone. Ning Shu pulled at his hair and counted them one by one. In the end, the numbers were messed up and he didn't want to start counting again. He took out a small branch from his messen space. There were some runes on it. He closed his eyes and touched the runes, trying to understand them. The surroundings were extremely quiet, with no sound at all. This caused Ning Shu to focus even more on comprehending the divine inscriptions. After an unknown amount of time, Ning Shu's transparent ears twitched as he heard footsteps. He opened his eyes and stuffed the branch back into the spatial ring. Staring in the direction of his footsteps, he could vaguely see a figure appearing in the thick fog. Gradually, it got closer and closer. One of them was an abyssal prefect dressed in a white tuxedo, while the other was a burly man who looked like a leopard ready to pounce. He looked a little familiar, but Ning Shu didn't dare to recognize him, especially since he had a demonic tail behind him. The little demon said that she was in seclusion. Could this be the result of her seclusion? Ning Shu stood up and said to the two of them through the iron cage, "Did you bring anything to eat? I want to eat fruits from the void. I have to bring something when visiting a jail." The little demon's mature and charming face twitched. "At this time, you still have the mood to eat." Ning Shu asked back, "Why not? Should I not be able to eat or sleep well and live in fear all day long? How torturous would that be?" The abyssal prefect said, "Then your mentality is quite good." Ning Shu said, "It's okay. After experiencing this many times, I can calm down. The worst outcome would be nothing more than death. As for what would happen after death, I'm already dead. Why should I care about what happens after death? Who cares if I can reincarnate? Who cares if there is a future? Even if there is a future, it won't be me anymore. It will be a new person. Did they want to destroy my will and give birth to a new one? This was actually quite worth it. Nurturing an obedient will of death. Moreover, the Law C could completely fuse with peerless martial arts. This was not a warm world and organization, so Ning Shu was not surprised that he encountered this. In the end, he was not strong enough. The abyssal prefect said, "You actually don't have the qualifications to negotiate. Splitting up is the best way. Lose some to protect yourself." Ning Shu smiled, "Thank you for thinking about me, but I just don't want to be dissolute." The abyssal prefect said indifferently, "Then you can only die." "It doesn't matter. If I die, then I die. Counting it, I won't live for long. According to the soul reincarnation cycle, my soul should have already been reincarnated." Ning Shu spread out his hands and said very shamelessly. The little demon said in annoyance, "Then you don't care about those reincarnation worlds?" Ning Shu sighed, "I can't even protect myself. Do I still need to protect them? I should be wronged and split up. Good for you, good for me, good for everyone. The problem is that I am not afraid of death. What peerless martial arts? I can only say that they will become wild. They will exist for as long as they can. Moreover, with the little demon, he would not let himself be homeless." Ning Shu looked at the little demon and asked, "Do you also think that I should compromise?" The little demon's voice became mature and deep. It was not like the voice of a young male. The voice control was addicted to this voice. He said word by word, "Do you have a choice?" Ning Shu's face was full of smiles, looking exceptionally good. "Yes, I choose to die." The little demon's expression was somewhat confused. He did not understand and asked, "Why?" Ning Shu said, "Probably because I have always been compromising in my heart. After compromising too much, I suddenly do not want to compromise anymore. They seem to be right, but I am hurt. I feel uncomfortable and do not want to suffer anymore. After encountering something, I am constantly convincing myself to let it go." Ning Shu smiled, "Let it go my ass. Even if I want to see them fail, I am not willing to fulfill their wishes. Don't talk to me about principles, I am too lazy to listen. Don't say that life is about constantly being wronged and constantly compromising. I do not want to compromise. Who did not understand the principles, but it was difficult to let it go in his heart. The little demon said, "Then you can die in peace. I will take good care of your peerless martial arts." Ning Shu nodded, "Then I can rest assured. I can die in peace." The abyssal prefect beside Ning Shu shook his head. They were all children after all. He spoke coldly to Ning Shu, "You think you're very important, but in reality, you're not even worth mentioning. Your death won't even affect our emotions. As for the things that you rely on and value, they're nothing to us. Don't think too much of yourself. Don't act like you're going to sacrifice yourself for a cause. You're so stupid." Chapter 39:13. Alas, can these people be a bit more straightforward? On one hand, they are saying how bad my things are and how they are not worth mentioning, and on the other hand, they want my things. Brother, your words and actions are really inconsistent. It's really a slap in the face. Ning Shu looked at His Excellency with a strange expression. Yes, it's my things that are not good. My life is like an ant's. Why are you saying this to me? I know. His Excellency said indifferently, "It's your appearance. You are so moved that you seem to be rebelling against heaven and earth." Ning Shu said, "Seeing you say these words in front of me, I really have a feeling of rebelling against heaven and earth. It's your actions that give me this feeling." His Excellency snorted and turned around to leave, disappearing into the fog. The little devil stayed behind and slightly bent down to look at Ning Shu at the same level. "You understand, so don't die. Surviving is more important than anything else. Your life is nothing in their eyes. It's not worth mentioning whether you live or die. Only by surviving can you have a future. Only then can you change the things you want to change. It's not good to look down on life." The little devil sighed. Ning Shu pursed his lips and said, "I know what you mean. If I want to survive now, the only way is to divide the resources. Dividing the resources is already a great sacrifice in their eyes. But I feel very sullen. Even if I survive, the following years will be sullen." He was already prepared to die. It would be best if he could fight for a chance of survival. The little devil shook her head. "If you die, your things will completely belong to them. They don't even need to divide the resources. They don't care if you live, but it's better for them if you die. Do you still need to choose which is more important?" Ning Shu said with a smile, "How would I know what will happen after I die? No matter what happens after I die, the world of samsara is your nest. Take good care of it. The skeletons inside are also cultivated by me. I spent a lot of merit points. Almost all the merit points were spent on the skeletons." Ning Shu sighed. "When I go out, I will pinch your tail." The little devil was expressionless. The little demon still said, "Only by surviving can you change some things when you are strong." Ning Shu almost rolled his eyes. "That's right. Ever since I joined the organization, I've always had this thought. No matter what happened, I've always used this thought to motivate myself. In the end, I realized that everything is just a cycle. Once you become stronger, everything will be fine. When you encounter something, you will still hold it in. Once you become stronger, everything will be fine. It has always been like this. In fact, the results are almost the same, don't you think? After climbing over a hurdle, there was still another hurdle. He thought to himself, I just need to climb over this hurdle. After climbing over this hurdle, there is still another one. I feel like I'm going to become a pervert if this goes on. The little demon was speechless. I actually couldn't refute it. That's right. Weakness is the original sin. Actually, to a certain extent, having these things is your fault, because you are unable to protect them. Even if you're locked up here, some people will think that you deserve it. Because you're weak, it's even more your fault that you brought this thing in front of them. You deserve it. As for them taking your things, isn't that a matter of course? I hope that you can live, because if you die, you die. If you live, you can still work hard for your dignity. Ning Shu was speechless. AI, A good woman wouldn't wear revealing clothes and not go home in the middle of the night. Otherwise, she wouldn't have met a pervert. Speaking of which, it's all because I wore revealing clothes and didn't go home in the middle of the night. Serves me right? Ning Shu smiled and said, "Thank you for your words. I will consider it carefully." The little devil had also left. Persuading Ning Shu to split up was the lesser of two evils. After all, only by surviving would there be a future. But sometimes, living in a sullen manner with the goal of surpassing others was actually a reason to constantly compromise. Ning Shu sat down, as he took out a small twig and continued to touch it. Comprehending divine inscriptions required one to be calm and tranquil, and right now, what Ning Shu needed the most was precisely that. Figian smashed into the system space like a meteor, causing the whole space to shake twice. Even Dan Qing's personality trembled. Flip Sky looked at the empty system space and asked Dan Qing, "Where is he?" Dan Qing said, "I think he went out. He was called away." Fatian sighed and instantly realized that something was wrong. He vaguely sensed something and came back. He didn't make it in time. Because it was a matter of supreme martial arts. It shouldn't be so fast. Fatian's gaze was like lightning as he stared at a certain spot in the system space. "You told them." Although Fatian was asking a question, his tone was very certain. Dan Qing was silent and didn't say anything, but his attitude was a tacit agreement. Figian sneered and a whip appeared in his hand. He waved the whip and hit the system space again and again. The system space trembled and couldn't withstand the power of the god-beating whip. It turned into ashes. The whip retracted into Fatian's body and Fatian disappeared like a meteor. Fatian's figure appeared in the white fog, but his figure was very blurry. Ning Shu was very happy to see Fatian, but it seemed to be a spiritual body. Fatian said, "The repulsive force of this space is very strong. I can't enter, so I can only use my spiritual body." Ning Shu frowned. It seemed that Fatian couldn't enter. She was locked up very tightly. Tian said, "This matter was reported by that Dan Qing of yours." Ning Shu said calmly, "There was no friendship. It's normal for him to choose the organization. With such a thing, it was only a matter of time." Faced with such a huge monster and being crushed by its power, any normal person would know what to do. Tian said, "Actually, I was careless about this matter." He didn't even avoid the invisible system when making the clay doll. Ning Shu said, "They said that the ultimate martial arts is the birthplace of the plane. Is that true? Why do they know more about the ultimate martial arts than I do?" Fatian said, "There is a trend, but it doesn't mean that it can become the birthplace of the plane. However, the vitality inside is what they want. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to be happy for nothing. I thought that after this transaction, we could leave the organization smoothly. In the end, we can't leave." Ning Shu was actually hoping for a fluke. If the transaction was completed, the organization might be able to abide by the contract and let them leave. He didn't want to leave bloody and pay the smallest price. However, if the transaction was not completed, he definitely couldn't leave. The organization was the one that suffered losses. Definitely not. Fidian said, "I'll think of another way. If you can survive this time, let's leave this place." Chapter 39:14. The people who came to see her all hoped that she would choose the less harmful option. Fatian didn't let her choose. Instead, he said that he would find a way to save her. Ning Shu nodded. "Okay, I'll listen to you. If we can survive, we'll leave. If something happens to me, you'll take the peerless martial arts and leave." Fatian said, "I'll try my best to find a way." Fatian said, "I hope you don't have too many concerns when you come out this time. It's normal for them to take your things. If they're not in good health, they'll kill an old hen to supplement their nutrition. They'll use your eggs to make steamed eggs, scrambled eggs, and boiled eggs. I don't know where your obsession to talk to them equally comes from. In terms of the food chain, you're not equal. As a human, what's wrong with killing a chicken? What's wrong with them taking your things? Don't you think the organization uses the living world built by mission enforcers to hold living creatures? What right do you have to say no?" And you're probably an accident. You gave birth to the chicken's inner gold and gave the owner an unexpected harvest. In fact, the essence is almost the same. Your chicken, eggs, and chicken's inner gold all belong to the owner. They're not wrong. If you want to break through, you have to jump out of this chicken coop, not work hard to become a human. You can't become a human. Ning Shu had never had such a clear realization that a certain class couldn't be broken through. It was determined from birth. A chicken raised in a pen was a chicken. A chicken with sharp claws was also a chicken. And Tai Shu, Sang Liang, and the others were a family workshop? Ning Shu was almost brainwashed by this idea. He felt that his things and life belonged to the organization. As a human, of course, he should take it for granted that his chicken was his. Based on this logic, from the standpoint of the Grand Elder and Sang Liang, a chicken actually wanted to run away. If a chicken that had been raised for so long wanted to run away and become a wild chicken, it should be slaughtered. In that case, Ning Shu felt that whether he completed the transaction or not, he couldn't leave the organization. From the day he entered the organization, everything he owned actually belonged to the organization. That was the truth, but Ning Shu wasn't willing to hand over the chicken breast. If it was a brainless and muddle-headed chicken, then so be it. But if it was a chicken with intelligence and emotions, then it would have all sorts of thoughts. This was uncontrollable. Ning Shu was speechless. How am I an old hen? Effidun, he's older than me anyway. I can't. The repulsive force of this space is too strong. I'm going to be expelled. I'll think of a way to get back in. After saying that, Fation disappeared. Ning Shu stroked her chin and paced back and forth in the cage. She couldn't let Fation think of a way out alone. She also had to think of a way to break out. She touched the cage. There was a thick barrier that bounced her hand away. There was a strong repulsive force. If he were to force his way out, the backlash he would receive would be even stronger. Would his soul dissipate right away? However, he had to give it a try. Sang Liang held the book and walked in a long and dark corridor. There were rhythmic footsteps in the corridor. With a creak, Sang Liang pushed open the door and walked into a cave. There was a stone bed inside, and the slender grand uncle was lying on it. Sang Liang pulled a chair and sat beside him, waiting for him to wake up. "You're awake," Sang Liang said to Grand Uncle as he closed the book. Grand Uncle grunted coldly. Because he had just woken up, his voice was low and lazy. Sang Liang said, "I've carefully studied the information that was presented to me. Our manufacturing method is actually not much different from hers. What we lack is faith in the energy body of laws. And that book itself is a world of faith. This is the only difference. Grand Uncle, in that case, we need a world of faith. Let's see if we can find one from the mission enforcers. We can create a world of faith. A world of faith can absorb the power of faith and then produce it. What about the person locked up? I'm guessing that she was probably lucky to be able to produce it successfully. She bumped into it and a series of reactions were born. Oh, let's talk about it later." Grand Uncle waved his hand and lay down again. He leaned sideways and rested his head on his bent arm. Sang Liang said, "Then let's create it first. If the Sea of Laws can't hold on anymore, use her to replenish some vitality." "Oh," the Grand Uncle replied. He turned over and faced Sang Liang. With a thick nasal voice, he said in a muffled voice, "Do you think I should give up? It's up to you to give up or not. If you give up, then give up. If you don't, we'll continue." Sang Liang was silent for a moment before saying, "If possible, I hope you give up this Sea of Laws. If a new Sea of Laws is really born, you can fuse with it. When the time comes, don't give birth to any planes. If there are any signs, just nip them in the bud so that the power won't be divided by these planes. I think you can change this captive hobby of yours. If it weren't for these planes, the Sea of Laws would be more than enough to last for hundreds of millions of years. It's time to stop enjoying yourself." In short, Grand Uncle had gone a little overboard. Grand Uncle, "Oh, let's talk about it later." There were fish in the small fish tank. If they were alive, then they were alive. If they were dead, then they would naturally be thrown away. Sang Liang, "Then let's start again and create a faith world?" Sang Liang asked. Grand Uncle? Oh. When the time comes, you have to let him out. It's not a good idea to stuff him in your body all the time, Sang Liang said. Grand Uncle? Oh. Let's remake the rules or put him in. He has the most complete rules. If we use the rule stone, we might not be able to collect all the rules. Grand Uncle? Oh. I don't think that Faith World used a rule stone. Instead, it was thrown in that time and absorbed some rules that Jingqing dissolved in the virtual law. It was formed by chance. Grand Uncle? Oh. Sang Liang looked at Grand Uncle. Go back to sleep. I'm leaving. Grand Uncle? Oh. Grand Uncle turned over and fell into a deep sleep. Sang Liang went out with the book. Rings of black gas rippled out from Grand Uncle's body. Ning Shu insisted on touching the barrier with his hand. Each time he used more force than the last. He was testing the power of this cage. In the hazy white fog, a person with black fog floating all over his body appeared. When Ning Shu saw this guy, a smile appeared on his face. He was still worried about how to open this thing. Now that this guy was here, it was equivalent to having an external force. It was pitch black as if he had crawled out of a coal mine. At a glance, it was obvious that Jingqing had taken over the body. Black gas floated all over his body. Black smoke curled up. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 39:15. Although he was still so ugly, he had never felt that Jingqing was a little cute. Come on, break this iron cage and I'll let you. Senior uncle looked at Ning Shu in the iron cage with his scarlet eyes and said in a hoarse voice, I didn't expect us to be in the same boat. Ning Shu exclaimed in surprise. Jingqing had always been a wandering black smoke without any consciousness. Now he was actually conscious. From another perspective, the Grand Elder's situation wasn't good. Ning Shu shook his head and denied, We are in the same boat, but we don't care about each other. Jingqing said, You're just an ant. You should be very proud to receive such treatment. Your life is worth it. Ning Shu laughed, Worth a chicken feather? What's the honor? If you're so honored, why are you running away? Jingqing stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. His eyes became more and more scarlet, and he seemed to have lost his consciousness again. Ning Shu said, Do you want to eat me? Come on. Ning Shu danced in the iron cage like a piece of braised pork jumping left and right. She was so happy that Jingqing's eyes turned even redder. A cloud of black smoke floated out of his body and hit the iron cage. With a bang, it hit the iron cage and was bounced away by the strength of the iron cage. Ning Shu snorted and sat down again, too lazy to move. Jingqing hit the iron cage many times, but he didn't open it. On the contrary, Ning Shu, who was sitting in the iron cage, felt a little nauseous. She suddenly felt that the iron cage was not only used to lock her up, but also to guard against Jingqing. They were in the same boat, but there was absolutely no pity. Ning Shu expressionlessly watched Jingqing hit the iron cage again and again. What a fool. She was really bored. Someone was playing a monkey show for her. Although it wasn't very exciting, she had to put up with it. Ning Shu propped up her chin. She almost fell asleep amidst the clanging sounds. In the end, it was Jingqing who got tired and used up a lot of his energy. Looking at the leisurely Ning Shu, he said, You should help too. Ning Shu almost laughed to death. Jingqing was still so naive and cute. Work hard, or I'll be a woman that you can't have. Sooner or later, you will be pressed in. You might as well be eaten by me. I will take revenge for you. Jingqing said incoherently. Ning Shu pursed his lips. Thank you so much. Ning Shu waved his hand. Keep hitting. What are you waiting for? If you delay any longer, Grand Uncle will come out. He no longer had any hope for Jingqing. He had no other way, so he had to think of a way himself. Moreover, once the Grand Elder woke up, he might even reinforce the barrier. What a useless teammate. You want to eat me? Shit. He had to escape before they took away the peerless martial arts. Jingqing hit the iron cage without any skill. Every time he hit it, the black fog faded a little. It looked like he was torturing himself. It was really tragic. Ning Shu couldn't bear to look at it. Zheng Qing's strength wasn't enough to keep him in the outside world. He could only retreat back into the Grand Elder's body. Before leaving, he said, "I'll come again next time." Ning Shu said, "Don't come again. I'm a woman that you can't have." Zheng Qing said, "Don't worry. I'll definitely eat you." Ning Shu rolled his eyes. "Don't come again." The black fog gradually retreated into the Grand Elder's body. He lay motionless on the ground. No one knew when he would wake up. The space was quiet. Ning Shu was very bored. He supported his chin and looked at the Grand Elder's corpse, wondering if he had a key on him. What could he do to get out? Fa Tian couldn't do it alone. The Grand Elder on the ground moved. It looked like he was about to wake up. He rubbed his head and sat up, looking tired. He looked around, glanced at Ning Shu, and then rubbed his head. After a while, he stood up. Just as Ning Shu thought, he strengthened the cage. Ning Shu gave him the middle finger in his heart. "Zheng Qing, I'm a woman that you can't have." He couldn't open the cage in one go. The result was like this. In fact, the two brothers had the same needs. One was very straightforward, drooling, and the other was much more elegant. He didn't eat raw, but cooked. It had to be ritualistic. All kinds of fancy operations were done, such as dividing, carp blessing, and planting trees. The Grand Elder turned and left without saying a word. Ning Shu touched some barriers with his hand and felt that they had been strengthened. It was harder to break than before. So, why did Zheng Qing come here? If he really got the vitality of the peerless martial arts into the Sea of Law, Zheng Qing would benefit from it. However, Zheng Qing didn't seem to be thinking about this now. He only had one thought when he saw her, and that was to devour her. Zheng Qing seemed to have been reduced to a beast. Ning Shu said to the back of senior uncle who was about to disappear, "Brother, the seams of your pants are torn." The Grand Elder didn't stop and disappeared into the white fog. Ning Shu held his head and scratched his hair, thinking about what to do. He had strengthened it. "Ning Shu, I'm coming in." Fa Tian came in, panting. This time, it wasn't his spiritual body, but his whole body. Obviously, Fa Tian had spent a lot of energy to enter. Tian said, "Summon me now. I'll turn into a whip." Ning Shu felt that Fa Tian might not be able to enter. When he locked her up, he would definitely consider Fa Tian. Ning Shu called out to Fa Tian. Fa Tian turned into a stream of light and rushed towards the iron cage, but he was blocked outside. Fa Tian was rebounded by the iron cage's power. He somersaulted and stopped steadily on the ground. As expected, Fa Tian frowned. He didn't expect it to be so strict. Ning Shu held his forehead. Zheng Qing was indeed a natural counter to him. The strength of this cage has increased. You might not be able to break through from the outside. I'll think of a way from the inside, Ning Shu said. It's strengthened again. Why do they think so highly of you? What happened? Fa Tian felt that the situation was a little serious. The repulsive force outside made it difficult for him to stand, and the strength of the cage had increased. Ning Shu looked helpless. It's a little complicated. Fa Tian's body was a little shaky. Ning Shu said, "You should go out. Don't come in anymore. Otherwise, you'll attract their attention. They'll strengthen the strength, and it'll be harder to break through." "I'll think of a way. I'll definitely come out." Fa Tian didn't think that Ning Shu would be able to think of a way. After all, his strength was there for all to see. However, the repulsive force was getting stronger and stronger. Fa Tian was pushed out of this world. Ning Shu's expression became more and more serious. He couldn't go on like this. The longer this went on, the harder it would be to escape. He couldn't just wait to die without doing anything. He definitely wouldn't give up until the last moment. If he couldn't change it at the last moment, then he would choose to die together. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 39:16. Ning Shu sat cross-legged in the cage. He couldn't think of any way to get out. Zheng Qing couldn't break in from the outside, and Fa Tian couldn't as well. The effect would be minimal from the inside. Ning Shu touched his earlobe. What should he do? What should he do? He leaned back. Ning Shu stared at his raised hand and vaguely saw 2 leaves. That's right. Ning Shu immediately sat up. With the law of wood, he could use the law of wood to drill holes bit by bit. A germinated seed could lift up a stone and push it away. This was the power of vitality. What if the peerless martial art gave him more vitality? However, she felt that the power given by the peerless martial art was sometimes ineffective. She couldn't use the vitality inside. Vines extended out from Ning Shu's transparent soul and pierced the barrier. However, they were bounced back by the rebounding force. The vines continued to pierce the barrier. Ning Shu didn't make too many vines. Instead, he concentrated his power on one spot. Dripping water could penetrate stone. He would eventually be able to get out. She didn't immediately ask for his peerless martial art. She probably wanted to control him first so that she could retrieve it whenever she needed it. This meant that there was still time in the law of the sea. This also meant that her days in prison were far away. Life imprisonment? Fuck, this was too scary. Such a small cage, and she didn't even have a cellmate. This was driving her crazy. My sea of stars, by the time I get out, everything will have changed. I won't even recognize the world anymore. Ning Shu chanted in his heart. Peerless martial art, please give me power, give me power, give me power. However, the peerless martial art didn't have any reaction. Relying on the law of wood alone wasn't enough. The power provided by the peerless martial art was on the same level as the grand uncle's. The power of a kitchen knife was fundamentally different from the power of a gun. One was a cold weapon, while the other was a hot weapon. Cold weapons had no chance of winning against hot weapons. No matter what, he had to have a hot weapon to have the same power. Ning Shu sighed as he watched the vines pecking at the barrier rhythmically like a woodpecker. Dong dong dong. It added liveliness to this silent space. Ning Shu hadn't thought of controlling the peerless martial art before, but when he needed power, the peerless martial art didn't respond. This was very awkward. How could he obtain some power from the peerless martial art? Did he have to fuse his entire soul with the peerless martial art? She had become a book? It was obvious that these people wanted to use the peerless martial arts as nutrients and fuse themselves with the peerless martial arts. That was to throw themselves into the sea of law. After the fusion, even if it was diverted, it would still be the life force in his body being extracted. If all the eggs were placed in one basket, they would all break. But now, half of his soul had fused with the peerless martial art. Even if the peerless martial art was gone, he still had the other half of his soul that could start anew. What was the point of leaving half of his soul behind? He could just fuse with it directly. When the time came and he was really cornered, he could just self-destruct his soul and self-destruct his peerless martial arts. Why leave a way out? Just do what you need to do. Things are already like this. What's there to be afraid of? Ning Shu decided to completely fuse with the peerless martial art. He wanted to do something without any hesitation. The feeling of doing whatever he wanted to do was really fucking awesome. Ning Shu fused the remaining half of his soul into the peerless martial art. He had to experience another round of pain. His soul had to be forcefully squeezed into the peerless martial art, bit by bit, inch by inch. It was obvious that the power of the peerless martial art was much stronger than Ning Shu's. To be precise, Ning Shu was at a disadvantage. It was very difficult for a weak person to control a strong peerless martial art. Especially now that the peerless martial art was much stronger than before, it was even more painful than the previous fusion. Ning Shu wailed and rolled around in the iron cage. It was too painful, and he didn't know how long this pain would last. It was obvious that the peerless martial art didn't care about the soul. Fusion your sister. Ning Shu just wanted to fuse with it. He suddenly felt that his previous hypocrisy was very funny. He was even worried that his entire soul would fuse with the peerless martial art. If he fused with the peerless martial art, his fate would also be one. In the end, the peerless martial art didn't care about him. What could he do now? He could only rely on his willpower. Ning Shu squatted and clung to the iron bars. He was in so much pain that he lost his mind and stuck out his tongue to lick the iron bars. He grabbed the bars and cried, "Let me out. I'm willing to receive customers. Even 10 a day is fine." Ning Shu felt like he had tasted half of the tortures of hell. He couldn't see the end of the pain. His soul was crushed, stretched, rounded, and rolled into a fried dough twist. Ning Shu felt that his consciousness was becoming more and more blurry. Was he going to kill himself? If he had fused with it earlier, it might not have been so painful. Ning Shu gritted his teeth and endured. He might have gotten used to it. Ning Shu curled up into a ball in the iron cage. He closed his eyes and didn't move. Occasionally, Ning Shu would twitch. It was obvious that he was in great pain. Ning Shu tried to keep his consciousness clear. Otherwise, he would become a part of the peerless martial art. A part without consciousness. This wasn't what Ning Shu wanted. He wanted to have the peerless martial art, not become a part of it. Moreover, the peerless martial art rejected him. If he didn't have half of his soul, it would be impossible for him to fuse with the peerless martial art. Every time his consciousness started to become chaotic, Ning Shu would remind himself, I don't want to receive customers. I don't want to receive customers. Ning Shu hoped that he could fuse with the peerless martial art before they noticed. If someone disturbed him, he would definitely fail. In the iron cage, Ning Shu didn't dare to vent his pain. He was afraid that he would make too much noise and attract their attention. Ning Shu twitched. His eyes were blank because the pain had made him unable to think. His eyes were dull. He felt that there was a majestic force that wanted to directly disperse his soul. Over and over again, it was tearing his soul apart. It was extremely painful. Ning Shu clenched his fists. His body was about to curl up into a round plate. If he had a body, Ning Shu felt that he might bite his tongue to commit suicide. It was too painful. It was so painful. If the pain continued, his consciousness would dissipate. He didn't even need the Tai Shu and the others to erase him. The will of death would probably give birth to a new Ning Shu. With a newborn Ning Shu, he would have no outlook on life or the world. He would be the one who instilled his views on life. When the time came, he would definitely be diverted. In fact, the peerless martial art was only a source of power. It didn't have any wisdom. It couldn't resist the diversion. It was like a river. When a path was artificially opened, the water in the river would naturally diverge. One part of the river would flow to another path. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 39:17. As long as he thought of this happening, Ning Shu felt that he could endure it no matter how hard or tiring it was. He couldn't let them take advantage of him for nothing. Furthermore, they didn't even need to do anything. He had already fulfilled their wishes. How stifling would that be? Ning Shu felt that he needed to heal. He shouldn't stay in this high-pressure organization. Such a large organization with so many people needed high-pressure methods to manage. Otherwise, how could he manage so many people? He needed an iron-like restriction and an iron-like strength to suppress mission enforcers, the army, and the slightly powerful bosses. Ning Shu felt that although he had strength, he still seemed like a person who was willing to live an ordinary life, planting flowers and raising pigs. He worked so hard to become stronger just to live such a life. Because only by becoming stronger could he live such a life. If she was an ordinary person, she could choose to be a mediocre person and eat 3 meals a day to fill her stomach. However, the environment she was in didn't allow her to be so unmotivated. If she didn't make progress, she would die. If she wanted to live, she had to run desperately. Even if ordinary people lived an ordinary life, they wouldn't be in danger all the time. Ning Shu felt that he couldn't run forward blindly. He had to think about his own purpose. Being strong was to live a better life, not to make himself more miserable. He couldn't lose himself. Therefore, it was painful for him to hand over the peerless martial art. In order to not let himself suffer, he was determined not to hand it over. As long as he got out alive and left, the burden on his body would be lifted. Whether he was dead or alive, it would be lifted. So what if he was a grand uncle? So what if he was a sea of laws? So what if he was an organization? Even if he was locked up, Ning Shu's heart was calm. Locked up, he didn't have to deal with the star stones, run to every world to find resources, and do missions. He didn't have to worry about anything. It was really great. It was just that the place was a bit small. Walking was like walking in circles. It had been a long time since he was alone with himself like this. This wasn't hard at all. Before he got out, he wouldn't feel the pain of being locked up. The people who were really suffering were the granduncle and the others, who didn't live in a spiritual prison. Ning Shu was very, very sleepy. He closed his eyes for a while, just a while. In the end, as soon as he closed his eyes, he fell into a deep sleep. When he woke up, he was shocked. How did he fall asleep? Am I still me? Wasn't a new personality born? Oh, I'm still me. It's just that my head hurts too much. It hurts so much. I subconsciously touched my earlobe. There was no earring. The peerless martial art had disappeared. Could it be that she had fused with a peerless martial art? Was she a peerless martial art? Ning Shu rubbed his head. There was a crystal-like thing in his head. This crystal was about the size of a thumb. It was pitch black and looked extremely ugly. Ning Shu was speechless. I have a brain tumor. There was no such thing before. If it was a peerless martial art, it would be too ugly. But this was too ugly. He didn't ask for it to shine with golden light, but it was too painful to look at. Feeling the vitality and power inside, it really was a peerless martial art. What disappointed Ning Shu was that his soul was still the same. What was the problem that caused his soul to be so transparent? It had already fused, but it still didn't have a physical body? What was it missing? Ning Shu was in pain all over. He lay motionless on the ground. When the pain subsided, he stretched out his vines and began to attack the barrier. A small amount of power flowed out of the black and ugly brain tumor and into the vines. Just this little bit of power made the vines a little different. They looked tougher and greener. If the power was too strong, the vines wouldn't be able to withstand it and would directly explode. After all, the law of wood was only the law of wood. The power provided by a peerless martial art was a whole level higher. To break the barrier, one had to use power of the same level or higher. When the vine barrier was broken, he used a little more power. He once again saw how powerful this barrier was. If Fation was here, he could withstand a lot of power and break through the barrier with a whip. But now, Fation couldn't enter. It was also to guard against Fation. After all, it was Fation who had carried the power of the peerless martial art when he had slapped Taishu's face. If Fation was here, there would be an intermediate carrier. It would only take a few minutes to break this cage. The vines tirelessly tapped on the cage, producing rhythmic thumping sounds. Ning Shu, on the other hand, was studying her own soul. It seemed that there was no change after fusing with the peerless martial art. The only change was that there was a brain tumor in his brain. He didn't suddenly transform into a scion, nor did he have a majestic power that had nowhere to vent. This kind of person was very disappointed. In the white fog, someone appeared faintly, and there were also footsteps. Ning Shu quivered and immediately put away the vines. He grabbed the iron bars and shouted with a sad face, "Then let me out." The figure was getting closer and closer. Ning Shu looked and immediately rolled his eyes. He let go of the iron bars. Jingqing, who was covered in black fog, came again. He said, "I brought tools this time. It will definitely work." He stuttered and spoke hoarsely. Ning Shu said, "Get lost. Don't come again." Originally, Ning Shu felt that he was about to reach the immortal state of not being happy with external gains and sad for himself. But when he saw this guy, Ning Shu felt that his mind was about to explode. Separated by the barrier, Ning Shu felt that his IQ was being sucked away by Zhengqing. His IQ was extinguished in minutes. Zhengqing's black fog approached the cage. His nose twitched, and joy appeared in his scarlet eyes. "You smell better than before, more fragrant, and more delicious." Ning Shu looked at him expressionlessly. If he could, he really wanted to kill Zhengqing. New worries and old hatred made his eyebrows green. Ning Shu stared at him, his eyes glowing green and full of killing intent. The excited Zhengqing took out a golden rope and stuttered, "I will carry you out and hide you." Ning Shu. "You're such a clever little brat. But are you sure that Taishu won't wake up on the way? Then he would strengthen the barrier infinitely." Zheng Qing wrapped the rope around the cage and tied it to his body. He tried to carry Ning Shu and the cage on his back. Ning Shu was speechless. "Please, I beg you to stop. What was Tai Shu doing? Wouldn't it be a disgrace to his image if he let such a retard out?" Ning Shu, who was helpless in the cage, could only watch as he was carried away. It was unclear whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. However, as long as he had something to do with Zheng Qing and stayed with him, it was definitely a bad thing. If he was really lucky and Tai Shu didn't wake up and was taken away, where was Zheng Qing going to hide him? To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3918. Zheng Qing was simply a devil. Ning Shu watched as she was taken out of the white space, and the surrounding scenery was quickly receding. Ning Shu asked, "Where are you taking me?" At that time, Fation wouldn't be able to find her. If they really ran away, there was an advantage, which was that they wouldn't have to break through that space again. What they did might be useless. If Senior Grand Uncle woke up halfway, both of them would be finished. Zheng Qing really couldn't bear it in her life. She had been like this from the beginning. Zheng Qing said, "Go to a place where no one can find you." Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. "Then we can live a happy life? Didn't they all say that? Go to a place where no one can find us and live a life of immortal couple? Fog." Zheng Qing said, "I'm going to open the cage and eat you." Ning Shu rolled her eyes and lay in the iron cage. The tossing made Ning Shu a little sleepy. "Senior Grand Uncle must know the place you're looking for. Give up. Don't think you can beat him with your IQ." Ning Shu couldn't help but say. He didn't have any hope for Zheng Qing's IQ. When Ning Shu spoke, he still had to pay attention to the black fog around Zheng Qing. Once the black fog began to dissipate, Senior Grand Uncle would appear. Once Senior Grand Uncle woke up, he would throw her back into the white space, and Zheng Qing probably wouldn't be able to enter in the future. Therefore, she was destined to be a woman that Zheng Qing couldn't get. Zheng Qing stammered, "I didn't use my power this time, so he will take a longer time to wake up. When it's about time, I will go back and never let him find out." Ning Shu said, "You're really wise." Sure enough, no matter what race, they would use all their strength and wisdom for a bite. Ning Shu was silent. It didn't matter if Senior Grand Uncle found out. Senior Grand Uncle must be annoyed by this. Zheng Qing probably wouldn't be able to get close to that space in the future. This was also good. The closed barrier didn't need to be strengthened again and again. If the Grand Uncle didn't find out and Zheng Qing really took it away, he just needed to open the cage. When she came out, would Zheng Qing be a problem? It wouldn't be a problem at all. Therefore, whether she discovered it or not, the only effect it had on her was that the barrier had become thicker. Sooner or later, he would be able to break through. She was just afraid that after tormenting him for too long, he would get impatient and directly kill her. Now, it was just her and Zheng Qing who were tormenting each other. It was even more annoying, especially when Zheng Qing was constantly thinking about eating him. Ning Shu asked curiously, "Can't you break away from the existence of the Grand Uncle? Is it fun for you to change like this?" Zheng Qing held back for a long time before spitting out two words, "It's fun." Ning Shu sighed. "Your lives are so barren. How is this fun?" Ning Shu felt that his speed had slowed down, and he could clearly see his surroundings. He had arrived at a beautiful day. From then on, the prince and princess lived happily ever after. Ning Shu glanced at Zheng Qing, who was emitting black gas, and snorted. "I'm a woman you can't get." Zheng Qing loosened the rope, and the iron cage fell to the ground with a clang. It hit the ground and left a deep mark. Ning Shu was unprepared. He was so shaken that he almost spat out his heart. Ning Shu gave Zheng Qing the middle finger. He looked around and asked, "Where is this place?" Zheng Qing said, "He definitely can't find this place. This is..." He covered his mouth as he spoke, for fear that the Grand Uncle would find out. Ning Shu patted the iron cage and said, "If you have the ability to open this thing, I will let you eat it." Waves of black gas floated out of the Grand Uncle's body and condensed into a black fog. Ning Shu was very bored. "Is it still hitting? Can you change the method? You don't feel pain, but I'm shaken. He thought that Zheng Qing would have a new method or at least a tool. She knew how to carry the cage away with a rope. He thought that she would take out some powerful tool. The black fog paused for a moment and asked for Ning Shu's opinion. Then what do you say? I'll listen to you, Ning Shu said. You are really considerate. Zheng Qing asked. Then I'll hit it? Ning Shu was speechless. He didn't have any hope for Zheng Qing. Even if he wanted to be buried in Zheng Qing's mouth, Zheng Qing couldn't make her jump into his mouth. This was really a very sad thing. However, Zheng Qing didn't seem to realize this. She was happily tossing around. Zheng Qing really had an indescribable happiness. Happy idiot. Ning Shu even had the thought of abandoning her own intelligence. It was obvious that she was infected. Would the grand uncle be infected by Zheng Qing's idiocy? It would be great if the grand uncle became so happy. Zheng Qing knocked against the cage from all directions and angles, causing the cage to creak loudly. Ning Shu didn't care about this at all. He even wanted to laugh. After a while, the black fog on Zheng Qing's body began to dissipate. She immediately stopped. Obviously, the grand uncle was about to wake up. Zheng Qing said to Ning Shu, I have to go. I can't let him find this place. You have to find a way out yourself. Ning Shu was speechless. He was speechless. Zheng Qing ran away as soon as he said that. His figure disappeared in an instant, leaving Ning Shu in the world of birds and flowers. This place was better than the white space before. There were flowers and birds here. Some bold birds landed on the iron cage. Ning Shu stretched out her vines and started to attack the barrier with them. She didn't see the benefits of integrating the unique martial arts for the time being, but there was one thing that really benefited her. That was the world tree that was rooted in her body. The world tree was really luxuriant. Some of the leaves had already given birth to living creatures. It was a complete world of living creatures. This development was a bit rapid. However, thinking of the vitality in the unique martial arts, it could make a qualitative leap in the unique martial arts. Ning Shu sped up, hoping that she could get out before the grand uncle and the others found her. Once she went out, it would be goodbye. She would become a wild chicken and never come back. After increasing the power output, the vines couldn't take it anymore. Ning Shu had to control the power so that the law of wood wouldn't collapse. Then, there would be nothing to carry the power. She focused on attacking the cage. She didn't know if there was a positioning device on the cage. Ning Shu calmed her mind and sped up her actions. At the same time, she called out to Fa Tian in her mind, hoping that Fa Tian could find her. She didn't know if Fa Tian could enter this space. Ning Shu injected more power into the vines. The vines exploded, unable to withstand such power. Not only did the vines explode, but even the law of wood between the thumb and the index finger cracked. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 39:19. Ning Shu did not dare to increase his strength. He used a bit of vitality to repair the wood law. When the cracks on the wood law disappeared, he stretched out the vines to attack the cage. With just a little bit, the barrier would explode like glass. Fa Tian's voice sounded. Ning Shu, where are you? I can't see you. I'm in a space. But I can't find that space. Is it stacked up? I can't find it. Zheng Qing was an idiot. He was a burden when he was asked to, but when he should not be, he was very helpful. No wonder he could not be found. Fa Tian's voice was very close, but they could only hear his voice and not see him. Tian asked, Why are you here? Ning Shu let out a long sigh. It's really a long story. Fa Tian, I don't want to hear it. Ning Shu, I don't want to say it either. After injecting more vitality and strength into the vines became stronger. They hit the barrier again and again. The barrier made thumping sounds and the entire barrier was shaking. The vines became stronger and stronger. The entire cage was like a ship in a storm that could capsize at any time. A smile appeared on Ning Shu's face. With this, he would definitely be able to break the cage. The vines were like a snake's tail. They pierced deeply into the barrier. The barrier was like glass and countless cracks appeared on it. Like a spider web, The cracks spread throughout the entire cage. Then, with a bang, it exploded like glass, turning into specks of starlight and disappearing. Ning Shu looked up to the sky and roared. "I'm out." Ning Shu said, "Then, I broke the barrier." "Tian, but I can't find your location. What's going on? I can't find you." He felt like he was right in front of him, but he could not touch him. There was a layer of invisible things. It was like they were in different dimensions. It was like a dimensional wall. He could not break the dimensional wall. Ning Shu said, "I'll think of a way to get out." This place was really not easy to find. No wonder Zheng Qing was so confident. The scenery inside was the same all year round. It was always filled with birds chirping and fragrant flowers. Upon closer inspection, the trajectories of these flowers and birds were all in a cycle that never stopped. The space was real, but these flowers and birds were fake. Ning Shu's hand passed through a huge flower. It was indeed a fake. Ning Shu touched the enchantment of this space and was trapped again. He felt that this place was different from the white space from before. Ning Shu used the vines as usual, but surprisingly, the vines were unable to find a breakthrough point. The vines stretched out as if they were reaching into an endless black hole. No matter how long the vines were, they all disappeared. Ning Shu retracted the vines, which seemed to have retracted from a black hole. This was a little hard to fathom. Ning Shu squatted down, propped up his chin, and puffed up his cheeks. Could it be that he was waiting for Zheng Qing to come over? The first thing Zheng Qing wanted to do when she came over was to eat him. Tian's voice was very close. "Tell me what's in your place?" Ning Shu said, "I'm in a place with flowers, grass, butterflies, and birds." Tian was speechless. After a while, he could see that there was a place with flowers and grass from the abstract painting on the wall. Tian said, "I'm in a cave now. The walls of this cave are painted with extremely abstract lines. You're in this painting." Ning Shu was speechless. "So I'm trapped in the painting. How do I get out? Do I destroy the painting?" Ning Shu asked suspiciously. If the painting was destroyed, would he be destroyed as well? This method is not good. You can only draw a door. You can go through the door and come out. Although it's a very abstract painting, it takes a lot of strength to add a line to this painting. And this kind of primitive strength is not simple strength. Ning Shu asked, "Can you do it?" It wasn't that he doubted Tian's strength, but Tian's age was right there, and his knowledge couldn't keep up. Not to mention that he was older than Tian, he was also at a loss when it came to the void. Tian said, "Let me try." Tian looked around and casually picked up a stone from the ground. The stone was a little sharp. Tian picked it up and shook it in his hand. With the sharp side facing the wall, he took a deep breath and prepared to add a more abstract door to the abstract painting. But the stone tip was pressed against the wall and couldn't move at all. The wall rejected his strength, and his hand trembled. Tian grabbed his wrist with his other hand and slid it with difficulty. It was just a small mark, only a finger long. It was very time-consuming to draw a door. Ning Shu's voice came from the wall. "Tian, how are you? Are you okay?" Tian grabbed his wrist with one hand and drew a line with difficulty with the other. "I'm okay. It's just that I have to wait a little longer." Ning Shu said, "It's okay. You must pay attention to your safety. Don't do anything dangerous. Also, someone might come here. Don't bump into her. Hurry up and avoid her. Maybe I'll go out with that person." If Zheng Qing came, she would find a way to go out with him instead of waiting for Tian to work alone outside. Tian said, "Oh, don't talk to me. I have to concentrate. If there's a next time, I won't care about you." Ning Shu said, "I'll care about you." Sang Liang found the sleeping granduncle and pushed him. "Wake up." The person ran away. Granduncle rubbed his forehead and woke up. Ran away. It must be him. He's as greedy as a dog. I don't know where he took the bone to. Sang Liang frowned. "Don't sleep all day long. Once you sleep, he will run out." Granduncle said, "Oh. I'll catch him and ask him." Granduncle grabbed the black fog. Zheng Qing shouted hoarsely, "I won't give in. I won't say anything even if you beat me to death. Grand-uncle couldn't be bothered to look at this retard. I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. I still have to throw her into the law of nothingness. Zheng Qing sneered. His voice was hoarse and unpleasant. Wait until I eat her. You won't be able to point fingers at me. I'll throw you into the law of nothingness and let you know that the law of nothingness is full of p-values. Zheng Qing had a grand plan in his heart, but on the surface, he was scared and didn't say a word. It wasn't easy for him to carry her out, but he was determined not to say anything. Senior Grand Elder directly used time reversal to see what had happened before clearly. On the screen, seeing someone using his own body to carry a big iron cage, Grand Uncle's expression was very cold. He waved his hand and said to Sang Liang, "Take him to calm down." "Grand Uncle, you bastard. You want to lock me up again? Why do you think you can control me at will?" The Black Fog scolded. To watch the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3920. You cold-blooded monster who had a mother but no father. If you have the ability, come and kill me. Come and kill me. Zheng Qing's black fog moved up and down the cave. The Grand Elder turned his head indifferently and stared at him with knife-like eyes. "What did you say?" "I told you, you're a cold-blooded monster who had a mother but no father." The Grand Elder looked at him. "Say it again. Let me say it 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. You cold-blooded monster, I curse you to die more miserably than me. I won't let you go even if I become a ghost." The Grand Elder raised his chin slightly, and his glasses reflected a cold light. The light flashed. "Say it again. Monster, cold-blooded monster, cold-blooded monster." The Grand Elder rubbed his eyebrows. "Take him away. Make sure his mind hasn't recovered and he's still a fool." Zheng Qing was powerless in front of the Grand Elder. Other than cursing and struggling, he was useless in the end. Sang Liang still locked him up. Zheng Qing, who was locked up, kept cursing. "Even if I die in the law of nothingness, even if my soul scatters, I will never give in." If he hadn't appeared frequently during this period of time and consumed too much of his strength, the Grand Elder would have been able to do anything to him. Zheng Qing, who was locked up, was very worried that he would be caught hiding. Humph, he didn't believe that he could enter that place. Dream on. Time backtracking was a big problem. Why hadn't he thought of it? He should have blocked it. Zheng Qing thought angrily and bumped into the cage. "Let me out and I'll tell you." Without the nourishment of the Grand Elder's body, the black fog quickly became dispirited. It was motionless in the corner, like a palm-sized dark cloud hanging there. Sang Liang was speechless. He was indeed a fool. Didn't he realize that he didn't even have a body? How could he soak in the law of nothingness? The success of the peerless martial arts had proven that the law of nothingness had fused with the law of nothingness. Just in case, he had to take Zheng Qing's body out and soak it again. However, Zheng Qing was now a wisp of consciousness. He didn't even have a body, so he didn't need to be soaked at all. However, it was good to let him misunderstand that he was going to die in the law of nothingness. Sang Liang said to Grand Uncle, "The faith world is being constructed now. We need to invest a lot of faith power. When the time comes, throw in the law of nothingness." It could be said that he was copying the pattern of the previous peerless martial arts. Then, he used the star stone to encase the law of nothingness. After that, he threw in the energy body to provide energy for this world of faith. Grand Uncle, "Oh, okay," Sang Liang said, "just in case, we have to catch the person who ran away. If the experiment fails, we still need her things. That's a backup battery. It's not good to lose it." Sang Liang looked at the Grand Uncle. "Go and bring it back. Something might happen if it's too long." Grand Uncle, "Oh." After Sang Liang left, the Grand Uncle set off for that place. Tian was struggling to draw the door when he sensed the spatial fluctuations. He said to Ning Shu, "Someone's coming. I'm going to hide. Be careful." Ning Shu, who was in the wall, was shocked. Zheng Qing said that no one could find this place. The one who could find this place was either Zheng Qing or Senior Uncle. Zheng Qing was fine, but if it was senior uncle, would she have to repeat what happened before? How annoying. Ning Shu didn't want to have anything to do with this organization now. After leaving, she would never appear within 100 miles of this organization. Senior uncle, Sang Liang, and the others were as strong as gods. She didn't want to be on equal footing with them. They were gods, and she was her little chick. Did they have any deep hatred? Yes, there was. In fact, it was just Ning Shu's one-sided thought. The other party didn't care about her at all. If she avoided them, this class conflict wouldn't exist. She was really exhausted. She would be at a disadvantage if she fought against them, but she was unwilling to hand over her things. She had collected these things bit by bit. If she wanted to buy them, she had to find them in the world. She didn't take them from the organization and had to return them. From Ning Shu's point of view, these things were hers. From the organization's point of view, yours was mine, and mine was still mine. The entire organization was Senior Uncle's property. Senior Uncle appeared in the cave and looked at the almost abstract murals on the wall. His expression was a little inexplicable, a little speechless, and a little nostalgic. He wanted to pick up a stone, but when he saw that the stone on the ground was full of dust, he directly used the tip of his sword to draw on the stone wall smoothly. The door that Senior Uncle drew was still very abstract. It was similar to the traces on the murals. The only difference was that the traces were a little new. When Fa Tian saw that Senior Uncle was about to enter, he immediately turned into a scattered light and followed him. As soon as Senior Uncle entered, Fa Tian's figure became bigger. Ning Shu rushed over. Ning Shu grabbed Fa Tian. He was very excited. They finally met. After touching Fa Tian, Ning Shu looked at the person who came. There was no black fog on his body. It was Senior Uncle. Standing in this place where birds were singing and flowers were fragrant, the breeze blew gently. It was really not a suitable place for fighting. But he had to fight. Fortunately, he had broken through the barrier before. Otherwise, the barrier would be thickened now. Ning Shu tilted his head and looked behind Senior Uncle. He saw a door with extremely twisted lines. Who drew this door? Senior Uncle? When Senior Uncle saw Ning Shu, he frowned. He probably realized that Ning Shu had completely integrated with the peerless martial arts. Ning Shu swung the whip. Come on. If I die in your hands, it's fine. But if you die in my hands, then I'm sorry. Since he couldn't run away, he could only fight. This time, whether he lived or died, he would no longer have anything to do with this group of people. He could finally be free. Senior Uncle looked at Ning Shu condescendingly. He reached out and directly grabbed the holy whip in her hand. The holy whip couldn't control Senior Uncle's control. It involuntarily floated in his direction. Ning Shu stared blankly at Senior Uncle holding the holy whip. The holy whip seemed to belong to Senior Uncle. He wanted to escape several times, but there was no way. Ning Shu was speechless. I'm at a loss now. What's going on? Fa Tian's voice sounded in Ning Shu's mind. He controls part of my body? Now, Fa Tian felt as if someone was grabbing his ankle. He couldn't break free. The hand holding him was very strong, as if a mountain was pressing down on him. Fa Tian was suddenly full of worry about today's matter. He was afraid that he couldn't leave. But with today's matter, he couldn't escape even if he wanted to, and it might even cause their plan to be brought forward. This was really unpleasant. How can it be? Fa Tian didn't have much interaction with Senior Uncle. How could Fa Tian be controlled by Senior Uncle? To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3921. You're still the same old man. She thought that the grand uncle was definitely going to die, looking half dead. Perhaps in his lifetime, the people who were half dead were other people. Ning Shu couldn't figure out why the grand uncle controlled Fa Tian. She didn't doubt Fa Tian. If Fa Tian wanted to betray her, it couldn't be easier. He could just turn around and leave. Why would he need to follow another person? If Fa Tian went to any corner of the void, she wouldn't be able to find him in this lifetime. To be honest, her situation wasn't worth Fa Tian being used by another person just to get rid of her. What was the difference between being used by her and being used by another person? Moreover, Tuhun liked to go to the void when he had nothing to do. He didn't have a good impression of this organization and even wanted her to leave it. It didn't make sense that she would be so stupid to be controlled by the grand uncle. Fation had never liked this organization. Ning Shu needed a weapon to carry the power and release it. Only then would it be lethal. Otherwise, Ning Shu would only be a person who only had internal energy. Without any moves, he would not be able to turn his internal energy into external energy. And the Heaven Punisher was the carrier. Nothing on her body could bear the weight of the boundless power. Now that she didn't have this carrier, it was equivalent to taking away nearly 90% of Ning Shu's power. Ning Shu realized that Fation was in danger, but she couldn't save Fation. This was really a terrible thing. At this point, Ning Shu felt that there was nothing she couldn't bear to part with. If she really couldn't leave, Ning Shu still hoped that Fation could live. Various thoughts flashed through Ning Shu's mind. Suddenly, a light flashed through her mind. It was when the grand uncle had given his gun to Fation. That thing seemed to be an innate treasure. After giving it to Fation naturally wanted to integrate it into his body to increase his lethality. That feeling was like having a little calf in the house and wanting to pierce the calf's nose. After piercing the calf's nose, the string would be in the hands of the owner. And Ning Shu was like a cowherd boy, taking care of this calf. He couldn't even be considered a child, at most a shepherd dog. Ning Shu suddenly laughed out loud. These people were really far-sighted. Her IQ had been thrown 1,000 miles away. Perhaps to them, piercing a calf's nose and putting a rope on it was just common sense. It didn't even require intelligence. At that time, she was very surprised that the Grand Elder had taken out a gun. She originally thought that it was because they were both void creatures. However, even if they were both void creatures, they were still strangers. She really couldn't afford to offend these gods. She was convinced. Sun Wukong had always been in the palm of the Buddha. A cage fell from the sky and was about to cover Ning Shu. Ning Shu dodged it. The flowers and grass on the ground began to grow wildly, entangling Ning Shu. Just a moment ago, the place was still full of birds and fragrant flowers. Suddenly, it became ferocious and full of murderous intent. The grass and leaves were full of sawteeth, and the flowers became huge man-eating flowers that were dripping with saliva. With a fishy smell, they opened their bloody mouths and bit Ning Shu. Ning Shu avoided the vines and man-eating flowers while explaining to Fan why his body was controlled by the Grand Elder. Fitian was silent for a while, then said in a low voice, "I'll break one of my legs." Ning Shu was stunned for a moment and was almost trapped by the cage. "What are you talking about? How do you break it? Are you going to destroy yourself? Self-destruct?" Ning Shu looked at the Grand Elder outside the battlefield. He held the holy whip. It was such a pale and slender hand that held Fation, but Fation couldn't resist. This was a horrifying scene. On the other side, he was still standing in the scene of birds and fragrant flowers. He stepped on the shallow grass, and small flowers fluttered in the wind. Birds hovered over his head. When the spring breeze blew, the corners of his windbreaker, grass, and flowers were all slanted in the direction of the wind. The black clothes were abrupt and distant in the leisurely spring scenery. Ning Shu cried, "What equal footing? What equal conversation? What kind of joke was this? How stupid was she in the past?" Some forces were just like this. They were as helpless as ordinary people facing the power of capital, because the power of capital strangled everything. Just like the power she was facing now. She wasn't qualified to participate in the game of capital, but the power of capital wanted to take away her things at the smallest price. This allowed the power of capital to obtain greater power, and then this power of capital would be even more powerful and invincible. She wasn't as skilled as others, and she couldn't blame others. Ning Shu wiped her tears and said to Tian, "Don't blow yourself up." Fation said, "I'm not going to die, but one of my legs was grabbed and I couldn't move. I had no choice but to break this leg. Not only for you, but also for myself." He wouldn't let himself be controlled by others, let alone by such an organization. He didn't want to serve this organization. This organization had nothing to do with him. It's just that my strength will be damaged. I don't know what the sequelae will be. Let's talk about it after this disaster, Fa Tian said. Ning Shu sniffed and looked determined. Come over immediately when you break it. I'll pass the power to you. However, it would be very painful to cut off a part of one's strength. How many people could really be ruthless enough to cut off one of their arms and legs? Even in the face of a desperate situation, how much courage would it take to cut off an arm to survive? And now, Fa Tian was facing such a situation. He had to be ruthless to himself. In order to get rid of the rope that tied him up, he had to tear his nose open. It was bloody and painful. Ning Shu felt that his heart was about to explode. That kind of pain was even more painful than fusing with a peerless martial art. Ning Shu murmured and shouted, "An, it doesn't hurt, it doesn't hurt." She was like a frog at the bottom of a well. She was an ignorant fool. When Fa Tian was ignorant, she harmed Fa Tian. She didn't know anything. She didn't know anything. However, this wasn't a reason to let Fa Tian suffer. The crackling of whips sounded in the air. Countless invisible whips were waving. However, those illusory whips were broken inch by inch, like bones breaking inch by inch. How much pain was An going to suffer? Fa Tian broke free from the Grand Elder's control and flew towards Ning Shu like a sword. Ning Shu grabbed Fa Tian. The whole whip was trembling. It was very painful. Ning Shu clearly felt that Fa Tian had become much weaker. She burst into tears. She kept injecting life force into Fa Tian's body, hoping to relieve Fa Tian's pain. The Grand Elder narrowed his eyes and raised his hand. He looked at his empty hand. Before the whip left, it had left a deep mark on his hand. It was so deep that the bone could be seen. The flesh inside was black. Not a single drop of blood flowed out. Some power leaked out from the wound and was absorbed by the whip. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3922. They were really good at scheming. Fa Tian was originally a calf of the organization. He was also a calf of a powerful organization when he entered the Holy Land. Ning Shu, on the other hand, had to serve the organization for free for hundreds of years without any compensation. Not only did she help look after the calf, but she also embezzled the shepherd dog's dog food. The shepherd dog was also very happy and dutiful. If it wasn't for the wrong time, Ning Shu really wanted to kneel down in front of these people. They had such powerful strength, but they still had such thinking. The power of capital was incomparably strong. It was impossible to resist and directly turned into powder without any resistance. There was a problem with her thinking. The mistake was that she thought that Fa Tian didn't belong to the organization, and that sending Fa Tian to the Holy Land was a personal action. Since it was a transaction, there must be a price to pay. She had never thought that she was actually herding sheep and cattle for others. She didn't have that momentary awareness or illusion. If it wasn't for what had just happened, Ning Shu felt that she had never known such a thing. Fa Tian often said that she was a hen, but he didn't think that he was a calf of the organization. In fact, he had already been stamped by the organization and had the right to belong. Ning Shu grabbed the trembling Fa Tian and held back her tears. She saw that the abstract line of the door behind the Grand Uncle was getting smaller and smaller. If it was completely closed, she might be locked inside. Things like painting could only be broken from the outside, not from the inside. Now Fa Tian's situation was very bad. If he was locked up, they wouldn't have any power to resist. It was very likely that they would be directly thrown into the sea of law. This was their last chance. There was no black smoke coming out of the Grand Uncle's body, which meant that Zheng Qing couldn't disturb him now. Facing the Grand Uncle, Zheng Qing was trash, and so was she. Ning Shu said to Fa Tian in her heart, "We have to fight." Even if it was a dying struggle, they had to struggle. Ning Shu swung her whip and directly turned the entangled vines into powder. The man-eating flower was also destroyed. The surroundings returned to the scene of birds chirping and flowers fragrant, tranquil and peaceful. However, The air was filled with a whistling, baleful aura, blowing the flowers and grasses in all directions. Fation's voice trembled as he endured the pain. "All right, let's do it. This is our last chance." Fation and the others were captured. He might survive, but Ning Shu definitely wouldn't. But for Fation, being held hostage by this organization was too unbearable. He would rather die. Ever since he was born, he had always been free. Ning Shu took the initiative. Because the door was getting smaller and smaller, Senior Uncle and Jingqing could come and go freely, but she couldn't. If they were caught again, they wouldn't be able to escape anymore. This was the only time they could survive. If they could escape, they would have a chance of survival. If they were caught, they would definitely die. The Grand Elder opened his hand, and a black sword appeared in his hand. Black lines quickly crawled all over his neck. Ning Shu snorted and whispered to An, "So ugly, old fart." In fact, her voice wasn't soft at all. The Grand Elder's expression was indifferent. He didn't care about her words at all. Or rather, he didn't care about a domestic animal that couldn't arouse his emotions. The Grand Elder waved his sword, and a black sword light returned to Ning Shu. The sword light swallowed everything around it like a black hole. Ning Shu's whole body trembled as she dodged the black sword light. However, the sword light's attractive force was especially strong in this cramped environment. Not only that, but there was also a cage that fell from the sky to trap her. Ning Shu's soul was in extreme pain. It was filled with majestic power, making her feel as if her soul was about to be torn apart. Ning Shu transferred power into Fation's body. Fation had a broken leg and suffered heavy injuries. He had to bear such power again, so he groaned. Ning Shu gritted her teeth and waved the whip at the Grand Elder. The whip whistled with majestic power, and the Grand Elder dodged it. The fierce collision between the whip and the black sword brought about powerful aftershocks. The god-beating whip angrily attacked the Grand Elder. Countless whip shadows attacked the Grand Elder. The black sword in the Grand Elder's hand turned into countless small swords, tangling with the whip shadows. The fierce aftershocks made the Grand Elder's clothes flutter. However, Ning Shu's transparent soul remained motionless in such aftershocks. The Grand Elder raised his head and looked at the whip shadows in the air. He reached out and grabbed Fation's body whip. Ning Shu could almost hear Fation's painful voice. Ning Shu's brain immediately snapped. She rushed over and raised her hand to grab the Grand Elder's face. "You fucking let go of my Faton." Ning Shu's fingers left 4 deep scratches on the Grand Elder's face, which ran across his whole face. The glasses were flung away and fell into the shallow grass. It was not very obvious. Ning Shu and the Grand Elder were stunned at the same time. Ning Shu didn't expect that his hand could cause harm to the Grand Elder. When he saw that Fation was caught, the first thing he did was to grab the Grand Elder's face like a woman. His flesh and blood were black as if they were rotten. Han took advantage of the moment when he was stunned to break free from the Grand Elder's control. Ning Shu felt that his fingernails were full of black flesh and blood. He quickly squatted down and wiped his hands on the ground. They were stained with the rotten smell. It was so disgusting. Without the glasses, the Grand Elder's fine hair left some shadows on his forehead. He raised his eyes slightly. "I've always given you the choice to give birth, but you've made trouble again and again." Being scratched in the face by a chicken's claws, he must be so angry that he wanted to kill the chicken. Ning Shu felt that the two of them shouldn't be talking about this. The developer demolished your house and used it as a base. He gave you some money, but this money wasn't enough to give you a place to settle down. The most terrifying thing was that there was no government regulation in her environment. There was no power from above to suppress the developer. She had no way out. At this time, the developer actually asked if she wanted to live or not. If someone wanted to destroy the Grand Elder's Sea of Law, how would he react? And the peerless martial arts was what she needed to settle down and settle down. It was enough to give her a chance to live. Weakness was the original sin. People of the same class talked about reason, while those of different classes talked about strength. She wouldn't have to die if she was diverted. Ning Shu didn't bother to say a word to the Grand Elder. He also didn't have the desire to fight. He directly rushed towards the door. Fa Tion's current state wasn't good. It wasn't the time to fight. They had no chance of winning if this dragged on. The door was getting smaller and smaller. Ning Shu consumed all the strength in his body just to be able to pass through the door. A huge hand grabbed him. It was such a hand that directly crushed the little mouse. If he was caught, he would definitely die. Tian turned into a light and rushed out with Ning Shu just as the door was about to close. However, Ning Shu's body was stuck. To watch the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 39-23. With his legs stuck, Fa Tian couldn't move Ning Shu. Ning Shu hardened his heart and cut off his own legs. His soul was already transparent to begin with, and now it was even harder to see. The giant hand directly penetrated the wall and grabbed Ning Shu and the others. The giant hand was like heaven and earth. No matter where they ran, it would catch them. Fa Tian said, "We can't escape like this. We can only escape if we shield ourselves." Ning Shu knew that this giant beast would follow them like a shadow even if it chased them to the ends of the earth. Unless it could catch something, it couldn't. It was just like how the little mouse ran into the giant hand in order to save Li Wen, allowing Li Wen to escape. Now they were facing the same situation. Fa Tian transformed from a whip into a human form. However, one of his legs was missing. It was empty. He stood on one leg. Previously, he was 7 or 8 years old. Now, he looked like he was 4 or 5 years old. He was even smaller than when he transformed. Ning Shu's tears immediately flowed out. Fa Tian's face was extremely pale, and his eyes were filled with pain and exhaustion. He said to Ning Shu, "Do you have a way to block it for a while? I'll draw a rune to hide our presence." "I'll try. The law of water is useless. That's only the power of the small plane world. It's a very low-level power. It can't hide our presence," Fa Tian said hurriedly. "It was the law, not the law. Don't cry. I'm in pain, so I have to comfort you." Ning Shu wiped his face in panic. "I'm not crying. I'm not crying. I'll block it." Even if it was for Fa Tian to draw the rune, it would be good if he could escape. If both of them couldn't escape, then at least one of them could. The hand came closer and closer, and it was as if the world had darkened. It grabbed at them with an irresistible power that looked down on the world. Fa Tian sat down. Without his other leg, his movements were slow and staggered. He wasn't used to it yet. He began to draw divine runes. Ning Shu bit his lips tightly. From the very beginning, their strength had been severely damaged. Their chances of defeating Grand Elder were already small, and now their chances were even smaller. Ning Shu felt that he might die here. He glanced at Fa Tian behind him. He was too small and thin. "I just want to live, that's all." She had never thought of seizing power, nor had she ever thought of seizing their things for herself. He just wanted to live. He never thought about stealing the power of the Taishuha organization. Since her hands and nails could hurt the Grand Elder, then she had some power to resist such power, even if it was just to buy some time for Fa Tian. She saw the little mouse collide with the giant hand for Li Wen. At that time, she did not understand because Li Wen was really cold to the little mouse. But now she understood that some people were worth protecting with her life, just because of that little bit of warmth. That little bit of warmth could warm her devastated heart. Peerless martial arts were also things. It didn't matter if she gave it away, but her heart was not reconciled. She was hurt and would not disappear. They were not wrong, but she deserved to be hurt. Because she was not reconciled, she would not compromise even if she had to die together with them. She had no sense of belonging to this organization. She had no feelings. Why should she give up what she had for an emotionless person or thing? If she had suffered less, she might have stayed here. She might have suffered a little and really given it away. Go fucking die. Ning Shu clenched his fists, his expression resolute. He faced the giant hand without hesitation. When his fist met the giant hand, Ning Shu felt as if he had been hit by a giant hammer. His whole consciousness cracked. Ning Shu was dizzy. His soul could not bear such power and began to dissipate inch by inch. The Grand Elder in the mural was rebounded by the power and took a few steps back. He frowned with a cold expression. He raised his hand and clenched his fingers. The giant hand grabbed hard. It burst out with even more power, causing Ning Shu's soul to collapse even faster. Ning Shu's consciousness began to blur. He looked back at Fation with difficulty. Every time he saw Fation's broken leg, Ning Shu's nose would turn sour. If his consciousness dissipated, would a new Ning Shu be born? Would he disappear from then on? Ning Shu looked at the giant hand that was pressing down on him. There was no way to escape. The enormous and majestic power made him unable to move. He was like a dead fish on a chopping board. He couldn't beat it. He couldn't avoid death. Ning Shu's soul and consciousness were on the verge of collapse. She sneered. "Even if I die, I won't let you have a good time." She didn't even use the will of death like this. "Aren't you trying to find a way to live? I want you to die faster." Ning Shu used the will of death and cursed word by word. Her voice was very hoarse. "Grand Elder, I curse you. You will rot and die. You will struggle at death's door. You will rot and become a pile of rotten meat." The power of the will of death was like a black line, spreading along the giant hand toward the Grand Elder. Seeing the black line, the Grand Elder's face changed. His expression was cold and cruel. The giant hand squeezed. Under the enormous and insurmountable power, Ning Shu's soul exploded into pieces. His consciousness also collapsed. With a pung sound, it exploded and turned into specks of light before disappearing. Before his consciousness dissipated, Ning Shu thought that only death could free him from this inexplicable responsibility. He didn't ask for her opinion and walked on this path. It was like a person who couldn't choose his parents. No matter what happened, there would always be a pressure on him. Because of the kindness of giving birth and raising, she was born by relying on the organization. The organization gave her the opportunity to be strong. She had the opportunity to be strong because of the organization. It seemed that everything she had was because of the organization. No matter what happened, no matter what she endured, there were no parents in the world. No matter what she did, she couldn't repay the kindness of the organization. Since that was the case, she would repay it with her death. Only by dying could she leave the organization. In fact, the organization had never lied to her because no one left the organization. She thought that she could become the number one person. There was no number one person. There was only one more corpse on top of the layers of bones. Since the day she entered the organization, she had been running for her life. She had expected that she would die. Probably because of Murphy's Law, she had always had this premonition in her heart. She had always felt that she would die. This day had finally come. With the last of her strength, Ning Shu looked back at Fation. He looked at Ning Shu blankly. Ning Shu tried to comfort him with a smile. Only Fation could complete the mission for her. She was unconscious. From now on, there was no more Ning Shu in this world. Fation bit his pale lips tightly and finished the last stroke of the sacred sigil. He took out a bottle and collected a little powder. He looked at the giant hand in the air and turned to leave resolutely. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3924. Grains of black sand fell from the giant hand and landed on the ground. They were mixed in the soil and sand and were not very obvious. They drifted with the wind and drifted to every corner of the world. They drifted in every corner of the void. The Grand Elder looked coldly at the black line on his fingertips. It carried the power of the curse. Because of the power of disappointment, the power of the curse became stronger. Unable to detect the aura of the whip, the Grand Elder took back the giant beast and gave up tracking it. It was just a god-beating whip. What happened? Sang Liang raised his eyebrows and looked at the Grand Elder. There was nothing behind him. He did not bring the person back. The Grand Elder said coldly, "She resisted like crazy. Like a mad dog, I accidentally killed her." Sang Liang frowned tightly. What about that world? It was annihilated with her. He had given her a way to live, but she did not take it. If she wanted to die, then she should die. Sang Liang was silent. The lack of a backup source of vitality was quite a big problem. It was still in the experimental stage. He did not know if the experiment would be successful. He did not feel so anxious to have a backup. Besides, she was the master of the belief world. No matter how stupid she was, she would have some understanding of the world's formation. Asking her would save him some trouble. But it was useless to say this now. She was already dead. Sang Liang felt a little pity and let it go. There was always a way. There was enough time to slowly experiment. You have a lot of resentment. She cursed you before she died. Curses were a kind of power, especially when people with power cursed before they died. Half of their life was probably used to curse. To be honest, her fate was within Sang Liang's expectations. People with power wanted to control their own fate, but her strength was not enough for her to successfully control her own life. Handing over the eggs did not necessarily mean killing the hen. However, the hen had to make a fuss. No one would benefit from it. It was such a big grievance. Using one's life as a bet. The Grand Elder raised his hand and showed Sang Liang his finger. The black lines spread on his fingertips. This was just the beginning. If it was not dealt with, the power of the curse would spread to his whole body. It would not kill him, but it would make him suffer. Sang Liang said, "Let uncle get something to remove the curse. It's not good to leave it in the body." Seeing the grand uncle lying down again, Sang Liang said, "I'll talk to him." Sang Liang turned around and left. After some thought, he went to the place where Zheng Qing was locked up. He said to the energetic Zheng Qing, "Your dog bones are gone." Zheng Qing didn't react for a moment. "What do you mean?" Sang Liang. He told him that he didn't have any dog bones. Otherwise, he would keep tormenting him, but the other party was too slow. Sang Liang couldn't be bothered with him. It was a mistake for him to come here. After a while, Zheng Qing reacted and shouted at Sang Liang's back, "Fuck, you guys ate my men. Spit them out, you bitches." Sang Liang's footsteps didn't even pause as he left. The black smoke kept hitting the barrier. Impossible. How did he find my place? How did he get in? All of you bitches. Zheng Qing was very unwilling to give up. Finally, he could find something that could make his condition better and not be controlled by the Grand Elder. In the end, it was eaten by them in advance. Zheng Qing was about to go crazy with anger. He hated the Grand Uncle bitterly. Why did he have to be coerced by the Grand Uncle? But what the hell? Even if they both crawled out from the sea of laws, you walk your path while I walk my path. What right do you have to interfere with me? Fuck you. If you don't want to die, then I will die. We were both born from the sea of laws. So what if we die together? What's so great about you? You should live. Zheng Qing was so angry that his fluctuations were huge, causing his strength to dissipate. Zheng Qing was instantly stunned. He carefully scolded without daring to breathe. "Bastard, return it to me. Return it to me." Fidian hurried back to the cub nursery and took away everything that was placed there. Dong Lan, who was sitting by the pond licking a lollipop, saw Fatian and immediately jumped in front of him. She asked, "Thon, what happened to you? What happened to your legs? Why did you become smaller?" Fatian smiled with a pale face. He asked the old man divine tree for a branch. He ignored Dong Lan and looked at the old man divine tree. The old man divine tree saw his miserable state and asked, "What happened? Did you have a conflict with the void creatures?" Fatian grinned. "Grandpa tree, can you give me a branch? I need it to save someone." Fatian pouted and said with a sobbing tone, "Ning Shu is dead. She's dead." Dong Lan was startled. "Is she the one who brought us things?" The old man divine tree was speechless. Life was truly fickle. Not long ago, she was still comprehending the divine runes in his spiritual space. However, her aptitude was rather poor. Until now, she had not grasped a single thread. However, she was no longer here and he still ridiculed her aptitude. It was a little unkind. The old man divine tree plucked a branch and gave it to Fatian. "Take it. However, she's already dead. My condolences." Fatian took the things and left in a hurry. Dong Lan followed behind him. Fatian turned back and looked at her. "Why are you following me?" He was now a fugitive. He was not going out to play. Why was Dong Lan following him? He did not have the energy to deal with her. Dong Lan looked at Fa Tian worriedly. I'm worried about you. What happened to you? What happened to your leg? Fa Tian replied, I'm fine. Don't follow me. Dong Lan shook her head. I want to follow you. You look so weak now. If you encounter any danger, you won't be able to resist. I'm by your side and can block it for you. Fa Tian coldly rejected. No need. Thank you for your kind intentions. He did not want to say much to her. She knew that he was a cub from the cub nursery. It was very likely that they would come to the cub nursery to capture him. Perhaps they did not even put him in their eyes. However, he had to be cautious. Moreover, he had more important things to do. Fa Tian did not even listen to Dong Lan's words. He turned and left. Dong Lan was very worried about Fa Tian. Fa Tian was in a sorry state with a broken leg. His face was filled with panic and violence. Fa Tian was probably very sad about the death of the kitchen maid. Dong Lan pondered for a moment before catching up to Heaven Punisher. She was extremely fast. With a splash, she swam out of sight like a fish in water. She quickly caught up with Fa Tian. When Fa Tian saw her, he was very annoyed. Didn't I tell you not to follow me? Someone is chasing me. It's very dangerous to stay by my side. Dong Lan's eyes lit up. Is it that exciting? To watch the new chapter of Zue, please go to immobile address. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.